Chapter 246. Murong-ing paced back and forth in front of Li Fan's door for a long time. Later, she felt that Li Fan might be too tired today. She would talk to him about the matter of re-establishing his wife's dignity another day. Li Fan had a breakthrough in his skills, which was a happy thing. After eating the medicinal cuisine, he felt a warm feeling permeating through his body. Although Tai Zhu's appearance was somewhat unsightly, his culinary skills were first-rate. Murong-ing was beautiful, but she was fierce. It would be nice if she was as gentle as Tai Zhu. Sigh, what was I thinking? How could I imagine Murong-ing becoming gentle? Even if the end of the world came, this woman would not become gentle. This was his fiancée, the chief of Wulin, Murong-ing. Li Fan lightly leaped and landed on the rope, then leaned on it and lay down. Now, Li Fan could skillfully sleep on the rope. His body swayed gently, the rope swayed, but his body did not fall. It was as if he was on a swing. A gust of wind blew through the window, and Li Fan suddenly woke up. He opened his eyes and saw a familiar woman in a black vest with golden edges standing in the room. Shu. Seeing that Li Fan was on guard, Yushi stretched out a finger and gently made a shushing gesture. Yushi didn't want to provoke the terrifying Murong-ing even if it was the black guard of genie guards. In this Jianghu, there were probably only a few people who were willing to fight with Murong-ing. When she was only 16 years old, she had already trampled all the sects in Jianghu and kicked over all the martial arts schools. Other than Murong-ing, who else could achieve such a feat? Yushi didn't come today to kill Li Fan, so naturally, there was no need to provoke the terrifying chief of Wulin. I won't kill you, nor will I capture you. Yushi went straight to the point without any hesitation. I came to you for something else. What good can it be? Li Fan circulated his true qi. It's the middle of the night. Could it be that the heartless saber of the Imperial Secret Service came all the way here to have a one-night stand with me? As Li Fan ridiculed him, his heart was still secretly perturbed. This heartless saber's movement technique was very powerful. He had once again stealthily sneaked to his side. If he hadn't woken up abruptly, he might have been killed in his sleep. He had to be more vigilant in the future. Li Fan reminded himself. Come with me. Yushi was still concise and comprehensive. Li Fan was stunned for a moment. Yushi actually wanted him to go with her? What kind of tricks are you embroidered uniform guard playing this time? What's wrong? A dignified little overlord doesn't dare to come? Yushi was always expressionless, but it made Li Fan feel like she was laughing at him. How could this do? As a man, he couldn't be looked down upon by this woman. Talgo, I want to see what kind of tricks you embroidered uniform guard are playing. Li Fan said in his heart, sticking my head out is a knife, pulling my head back is also a knife. Sooner or later, I'll have to meet with the brocade guards. He would know what kind of tricks the embroidered uniform guard had up their sleeves. Whether it's a dragon's pool or a tiger's den, I'll go tonight. Don't worry. Yushi said very seriously, since you trust me, I'll make sure you don't die tonight. I can protect myself. Li Fan had always been self-reliant. He didn't need others to protect him. Besides, he was escort Li of Fifen Express. He had always been the one protecting others. There was no reason for others to protect him. If word of this got out, he would be the laughing stock of the people in the industry. Don't say anything else. Let's go. Li Fan reached out and took off his school uniform jacket from the hanger next to him. You're going to wear this? Yushi gave Li Fan a few more glances. What's wrong? This is the most normal outfit I have. As he spoke, he opened his wardrobe and revealed a large row of school uniforms. Because Li Fan often broke his school uniforms, he spent money to buy dozens of sets from school and hung them at home. When they were worn out, he would change them. It was cheap anyway. He asked Murong-ing to buy them. After all, she bought a set for 20 yuan, and Li Fan bought it for 200 yuan. Alright, it's up to you. As Yushi spoke, she turned around and jumped out of the window. Li Fan followed her and jumped out together. The reason why Li Fan was so confident was because he had absorbed the power of one dragon from Yushi. He hadn't been able to completely refine it before, but when he first comprehended the Tiger Strike technique, he refined the power of one dragon. However, after Li Fan refined the power of one dragon, he only absorbed the power of 3 tigers. After all, the power he absorbed was not pure enough. When converted into the complete 7 heroes force, some of the power would still be filtered out. Now, Li Fan had the power of 10 tigers. Now, even if he faced an expert at the peak of perfection, he would have the strength to fight. Even if he couldn't win, he would have no problem escaping. She also looked very calm. It seemed that she had recovered after absorbing his inner force last time. She was in the embroidered uniform guard, so she probably took some elixir. Li Fan followed Yushi's lightness skill was also good. She used the 8 steps catching cicada to jump between buildings. Li Fan calmly followed behind her. Lu Zua and Yuan Yu made Li Fan turn into a fairy in the night sky, closely following Yushi's footsteps. Yushi looked back and seemed a little surprised. However, that surprised look flashed in her eyes, and she resumed her poker face. Li Fan followed Yushi all the way to the shopping mall they had been to before. This time, they didn't go underground but landed on the top of the shopping mall. The top of the shopping mall turned out to be a high-end leisure club. A huge swimming pool was placed in the middle of the roof, and there were parasols and benches next to it. A middle-aged man was lying on the bench, seemingly enjoying the moonlight at night. Damn, this man's pretentiousness was really high. As soon as Li Fan landed on the top of the building, he was forced back a step by the man's invisible pretentiousness. "Commander, I've brought her." Yushi knelt in front of the middle-aged man. Li Fan was shocked. Holy shit, the commander of the embroidered uniform guard, this boss-level character, actually came out to meet him so early? "Little Yu, you did well. Come, let Uncle Wang see how you've developed recently." As he spoke, the commander's hand went to touch Yushi's butt. A black saber blocked the commander's finger. "Little Yu, how can you do this? Uncle is only concerned about your body. Don't you think too badly of Uncle? Is Uncle this kind of person in your heart?" "Commander, please conduct yourself." 3 black lines appeared on Yushi's forehead. Obviously, she couldn't stand this commander. Chapter 247. "Little Yu, you have to understand Uncle." The commander hurriedly said, "It's not easy for Uncle. In order to practice this small phaseless magic, I haven't been close to a woman for so many years. I'm already in my 40s, but I don't even have a wife. Uncle is suffering and lonely. As Uncle's subordinate, you should understand Uncle, right?" "Commander, you can use your hands." Yushi calmly said. "What are you talking about? Using your hands is harmful to your health." The commander immediately emphasized, "Commander, I am a person who advocates healthy living and environmental protection. How can such an unhealthy lifestyle be done by someone like me?" "I was wrong, Commander." Yushi's face was full of shame. "Then you can buy a dog." The commander was speechless. After a long time, he waved his hand. "All right, little Yu, you might be a little tired, and your mind is a little muddled. Go and rest first, I will have a chat with this student Li." With that, the commander hooked his finger, and a chair immediately flew over, landing behind Li Fan. "Student Li, since you are here, just treat it like your own home. Make yourself at home, don't stand on ceremony." "Can I really treat it like my own home?" Li Fan asked. "Of course. Then can I pee in the pool?" Li Fan felt the urge to pee, and the veins on the commander's forehead were bulging. "Student Li, tonight is a serious meeting, do you understand? All right then, I will endure it first." Li Fan could only shrug his shoulders. "Let's get straight to the point. What is the purpose of you looking for me? I don't think you are looking for me to admire the moonlight, right? Such a beautiful moonlight, why can't I admire it?" The commander stretched out his hand, and the juice on the table beside him flew into his hand. Li Fan's heart began to beat faster. This guy's small phaseless magic seemed to have reached the acme of perfection. It could even be integrated into his every move. It was truly terrifying. "Student Li, you are still a student, so I won't urge you to drink." With that, the commander waved his hand again, and a glass of green juice landed in front of Li Fan. "Try this strange fruit juice. I brewed it myself." "Commander, I don't quite understand what you mean." Li Fan took the glass of juice but did not drink it. Although he didn't have much experience in Jianghu, he understood that it was best not to eat food that was given to him. Did you really come all this way just to look at the moon and drink some juice? Classmate Li, if you keep saying that, wouldn't it be a waste of such a beautiful moonlight? If you were a pretty girl, I definitely wouldn't waste it. We are kindred spirits. Most of them slapped their thighs in unison. If only you were a girl. Sorry to disappoint you, but I have a friend. Although he is a man, he is as beautiful as a flower. If you like him, I can introduce him to you. Mr. Li, you're making fun of me. You're talking about the Wudong genius, Yan Kai, right? Although the commander was a bit lecherous, he was not stupid. He easily guessed who Li Fan was talking about. This person is indeed very handsome, but it's a pity that I don't like picking chrysanthemums. It seems like we're not on the same page. Li Fan put down the juice. I still have class tomorrow, so I'll go back to sleep first. The night is still young, why are you in such a hurry? The commander waved his hand, and the chair blocked Li Fan's way again. What, does the commander want me to stay? Li Fan sneered and glanced at She beside him. Classmate Li misunderstood, I never make a move on a junior in Jianghu. The commander laughed. The reason why I want you to stay is because I have something to discuss with classmate Li. What do you have to say? Let's hear it. Li Fan raised his head. I'd like to know what your genie guard is planning tonight. Classmate Li, don't think of the genie guard as a bad place. The commander put down the juice and asked Li Fan, I just want to ask you, if there were no genie guard, how chaotic do you think the world would be? It's hard to answer, right? Let me answer it for you. The commander continued, if there were no genie guard, I don't know how many people in Jianghu would become unscrupulous. Student Li, there was some truth in your words. Our existence is like the police. The existence of society needs law enforcement agencies to maintain order, and the order of Jianghu is controlled by us. Our purpose is to crack down on those bad people who don't follow the rules. Unfortunately, what I see is not like this. Li Fan said coldly, the genie guard I see can kill without mercy for the sake of the mission. There are even some people who, in order to please you, do not hesitate to collude with rich merchants and prey on the common people. If genie guard wants to maintain this kind of order, then I'd rather be a bad person who doesn't follow the rules. In the end, you're still a young man with a bad temper. The commander was not angry and continued to say slowly, the team is too big, it's not easy to lead. That's your problem, not mine. Li Fan would not sympathize with this perverted devil. Li Fan, watch your tone. She frowned and looked at Li Fan with some discomfort. You're talking to our commander. Your disrespect to him is the same as making our genie guard your enemy. When did we become friends? Li Fan heard this and laughed out loud. Heartless saber, you're too funny. With one eye missing, your IQ is also low. I've never been afraid of your genie guard. At most, we'll fight for another 300 rounds. Classmate Li, why are you so angry? Drink some juice to cool down. The commander still said calmly, I didn't ask you to come here tonight to fight with you. You're finally willing to talk about your purpose? Li Fan suddenly put away his angry face and sat there quietly, looking at the commander. Then let's talk about today's topic. The commander looked at Li Fan a few more times. He had underestimated this young man. It turned out that his earlier angry look was all an act, forcing him to say it in advance. He originally wanted to tease this young man and wear down his patience, but he didn't expect that he would beat him at his own game. But this was also good, he fancied this kind of talent. Classmate Li, I'll give you a chance to reach the sky in one step. The commander's words were shocking. You can worship me as your master, join my genie guard, and become the 5th black guard. From now on, everyone in the pugilistic world will fear your name. As soon as these words were spoken, even she was slightly stunned. Chapter 248. What kind of status does a black guard of the embroidered uniform guard have? It can almost be said that they are second only to one and above tens of thousands. Black guards have the authority to operate outside the law. They can even kill ordinary embroidered uniform guards first and report later. Not just anyone can become a black guard. At the very least, one must have the strength to reach the peak. As for Li Fan, this person only has the standard of entering the inner chamber. How could he be qualified to join the Blackguard? Especially if he can become the disciple of the Grand Chief. One must know that the Grand Chief has never accepted a disciple before. This matter is really unprecedented. It is hard to imagine that it actually happened. Yushi felt that her view of the world has been somewhat impacted. How could a greenhorn like this receive such high recognition? Yushi's heart felt a little unbalanced. This kind of temptation, thrown in front of Li Fan, is indeed somewhat hard to refuse. Student Li, become my disciple and then rule the world. The Grand Chief's voice suddenly rose a few octaves. In the future, the position of Grand Chief will also be yours. I have high hopes for you, young man. I don't understand. Li Fan is not a fool. Given him a bait, he will immediately bite. There are so many young talents in the world, why did you choose me? Fate is always unpredictable. The Grand Chief's words began to become serious. I feel that I and Student Li are fated. Moreover, your current position is very awkward. The embroidered uniform guard has already regarded you as a strong enemy. If you do not pledge allegiance, your future path will become very difficult. You also know that the embroidered uniform guard has many experts. What you have met so far is only the tip of the iceberg. If the 4 great blackguards made a move, you would already be dead. A stick in one hand and a carrot in the other. Your Excellency is really good. Li Fan was impressed. I have to admit, these few words, I am really a little tempted. This is a supreme honor. The Grand Chief thinks that Li Fan is somewhat moved and continues to strike while the iron is hot. As long as you agree, you can reach the heavens in a single step. Then what should I do? Li Fan suddenly laughed. His laughter is somewhat inexplicable. My greatest strength is that I like to rely on myself to reach the sky in a single bound. It doesn't matter if you're the commander of the embroidered uniform guards or the master of the martial arts world. I won't rely on you to reach the top. I have my own hands and feet. Why should I rely on you? You're quite ambitious. The chief's voice turned cold. It looks like you want to refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit? Sorry, I don't like to drink. Li Fan continued to sit there calmly, completely ignoring the commander's expression. If the commander is looking for me for such a matter, then I can go home now. How ignorant. The great general seemed to be somewhat angry. Uncle, this is the first time I said that I wanted to accept a disciple, but you actually ignored me. It's embarrassing, okay? Li Fan could not accept the fact that this commander was alternating between yin and yang. No matter what, you are still a commander. Can't you speak properly? I'm the commander-in-chief. I can say whatever I want. Yushi clutched her temples. This chief commander had become willful. Go ahead then, but I'm leaving. Li Fan could not be bothered to speak to this commander. He would not acknowledge this fellow as his master and become the imperial court's dog, especially since Yen Kai had betrayed the embroidered uniform guards for him. If he were to join this organization, would he still be considered a human? Student Li, is there no hope at all? The commander asked again. I, Li Fan, will never enter the embroidered uniform guards. Li Fan emphasized, no matter how you threaten or bribe me, I will not change my original intention. How foolish. The commander said, I gave you a sunny path, but you refused to walk it. You just had to walk the path of yin and yang. Foolish. Truly foolish. Whatever you say. It's just that all of our paths are different. Li Fan said without hesitation, my name is Li Fan. I am the little tyrant. I only live according to my own way. Since that's the case, then there's no point in keeping you. Da Dui changed his previous appearance and became fiendish. I want to see how tough your bones are. Just because of a disagreement, you want to fight. Li Fan could not help but sneer. The commander suddenly stretched out his right hand towards Li Fan and raised it into the air. A wave of true qi acted on Li Fan's body and directly lifted him up, holding him high in the air. Li Fan was shocked. This commander's minor phaseless divine art was indeed unfathomable. He had actually trained it to such a level. The legendary 9th level actually had such an effect. It was very easy for this true chi to move an object away. But to move a person away, the strength needed was not as simple as a few times. He was actually lifted up so easily. This proved that the commander's strength was definitely tyrannical. The might of this minor phaseless divine art was definitely not something the current Li Fan could withstand. But at this moment, a sword suddenly fell from the sky and fell towards the commander. The commander tried to use minor phaseless divine art to move the sword away, but he failed. The commander's eyes turned cold. His body seemed to have teleported and appeared at another place in the blink of an eye. Because of this, the true chi that was controlling Li Fan dissipated, allowing Li Fan to land back on the ground. At the same time, the sword slashed into the ground and sank half a foot deep. Li Fan saw it clearly. This was the old granny's big sword that Murong-ing had bought. It had not been opened yet, but it was already so sharp. Swish! A beautiful figure landed on the sword's hilt. Murong-ing stood on the sword's hilt with the tip of her foot. She looked like a fairy from the heavens. She had an immortal's aura about her, making people admire her greatly. Even she felt that she was born a wrong woman the moment she saw Murong-ing. She should have been born as a man and pursued this woman. Wang Jian, if you dare to touch him, I will take your life. Murong-ing stood on the sword. Her gaze was like a star in the night as it fell on the commander. Rumor has it that the Martial Arts Alliance Master Murong-ing found an ordinary high school student to be her fiancé. It seems like this rumor is true. Knowing that he is my fiancé, you still dare to make a move on him. Wang Jian, you really have guts. This name has not been mentioned for many years. The commander looked at Murong-ing with a slightly greedy gaze. Back then you were still a little girl, but now your figure is not bad. Your mother's bullshit. You've been having trouble recently. When Li Fan heard that the commander actually had thoughts about his woman, he immediately became angry. Young master, I will pull out your penis. Back down. This is not your battlefield. Murong-ing pointed at the commander. It is mine. Chapter 249. To be able to exchange blows with Alliance head Murong is a great blessing in life. The commander seemed to be very happy, but this kid Li Fan, someone needs to deal with him. Leave it to me, commander. A voice sounded from behind the commander, following which, a figure wearing a black vest with gilded edges slowly walked out from the darkness. He was obviously a man, but his hair was combed, and he wore a ghost mask. His face carried a trace of ruthlessness. I want to see how powerful a man that is appreciated by the commander is. Fuck, another blackguard. Looking at the blackguard, Li Fan slightly frowned. Shua. However, Yushi pulled out her black saber and stood in front of Li Fan. I said that I will protect you tonight. Yushi, are you crazy? The blackguard was somewhat unhappy. You actually dare to stand in front of me? I said that I will protect him. She emphasized once again, even if the commander wants to touch him, I will still fight to the death. You are really crazy. The blackguard had a look of disdain. You think you can defeat me? Among the blackguards, you are the weakest. As for me, I won't show you any mercy. Come, let's see if your sword is stronger or my saber is faster. Saying that, Yushi pulled out the black saber from her waist. The surrounding objects were all split into two, showing how sharp the saber chi on Yushi's saber was. But the blackguard just hooked his finger, and 7 black short swords popped out from his back, floating in front of him. These short swords were controlled by his minor formless magic technique, so even without using his hands, he could control them freely. This was one of the 4 blackguards, Shadowless Sword, who killed without leaving a trace. His 7 short swords suddenly disappeared in front of Li Fan and Yushi, but Yushi retreated a few steps, arriving in front of Li Fan, waving the black saber in her hand a few times. The 7 black short swords were struck away by her one after another. Although Shadowless Sword was powerful, it had no way to hurt Li Fan in the slightest. This is the first time I've fought with you, but I do have some skill. Shadowless Sword sneered, but you only have one eye, so you won't be able to discover my sword. With that, a short sword stabbed into Yushi's shoulder, forcing her to take a step back. She pulled out the black sword and stopped the wound. Hee, you seem to have internal injuries. Shadowless Sword sneered, how can you fight me with your current strength? Don't underestimate me. She immediately said, even if I'm injured, I won't let you succeed. How stubborn. Shadowless Sword's mouth twitched. Since that's the case, the commander shouldn't blame me for killing you. Oomph. She suddenly stopped defending and attacked. She held the black blade and instantly appeared in front of Shadowless Sword, swinging the long blade repeatedly. Shadowless Sword kept retreating while 7 black short swords appeared before him, fending off Yushi's attacks over and over again. But Yushi's attack rhythm was very ferocious. The 7 short swords were slowly disintegrating, seemingly unable to withstand Yushi's sharp attacks. Li Fan watched the show from the side. He had to admit that Yushi's blade technique was indeed beautiful. Clean and efficient, without the slightest bit of sloppiness. Shadowless Sword seemed to be proficient in assassination techniques, but in terms of defense, he was indeed a bit lacking. Yushi suddenly broke through all the black swords and slashed towards Shadowless Sword's face. But Shadowless Sword slightly tilted his body and dodged Yushi's attack. At the same time, he stabbed Yushi's lower abdomen with 2 fingers. Puff! Yushi's waist exploded with a burst of chi. This was the real Shadowless Sword, shadowless and formless, yet it could take a life. Yushi vomited a mouthful of blood and retreated a few steps, clutching her lower abdomen as she half-kneeled on the ground. Her previous internal injuries had caused her reaction speed to be much weaker. In this way, it was clearly not enough to defeat Shadowless Sword. But she would definitely fulfill the words she had said. Therefore, Yushi stood up again and continued to exchange blows with Shadowless Sword. At the same time, Murong-ing and the commander looked like they were going to fight at any time. But the two of them just stood there, neither of them making the first move. When experts fought, whoever made the first move would be easily seen through and defeated in one blow. Therefore, the two of them only looked at each other quietly, both looking for flaws in the other. And for some reason, the commander actually felt a trace of anxiety. This was a feeling that a man with a godly skill should not have. The reason for this was one thing. This woman was really too strong. She was only a woman in her 20s, how could she have mastered such a godly skill? Even the commander could not help but be jealous of this woman's talent. If she was given a few more years, she might really become the world's #1, a powerful grandmaster of her generation. The commander was a little unconvinced. Since that's the case, let me start the fight. As the commander spoke, he stretched out his right hand and grabbed at Murong-ing. But Murong-ing just stood there calmly and said mockingly, I'm afraid your minor phaseless technique is ineffective against me. Murong-ing said, as long as I use my chi to block all parts of my body, your chi will not be able to seep in and you will not be able to capture me. As expected of the Alliance head, your use of chi has already reached the pinnacle. The commander could not help but praise. If you were given a few more years, I'm afraid even I would not be able to defeat you. Murong-ing raised her eyebrows. I might have heard wrongly. Earlier, you said that you can defeat me, right? You did not hear wrongly. That is exactly what I meant. Then I will have to correct you. Murong-ing raised her hand and a huge sword chi suddenly descended from the sky and slashed towards the commander. I am the Martial Alliance head. Murong-ing's right hand sank while the commander's left hand held the huge sword chi. His knees bent and he was almost forced to kneel on the ground. This Murong-ing sword chi is so powerful. But the commander's strength lies in the fact that the minor phaseless technique not only can be used for long-range attacks, it also has a powerful defense. Although Murong-ing sword chi is powerful, it is unable to break through the commander's defense and injure his flesh. With a push of his hand, the sword chi was deflected to the side. Boom! A huge ravine immediately appeared on the roof. Even the swimming pool was split into 2. What powerful sword chi! The commander praised, but since it cannot injure me, what's the use of it? Ordinary sword chi is indeed unable to injure you. Murong-ing suddenly stretched out 2 fingers, but Murong-ing's ultimate technique is the cherry blossom sword. With that, countless sword chi shattered and turned into the shape of cherry blossoms, which pounced towards the commander. Chapter 250. Turning nothingness into reality. The great commander should have thought of this long ago. This was Alliance Master Murong's most astonishing talent. The great commander had never comprehended even one of the 3 realms of martial arts. But this young Murong had comprehended turning nothingness into reality. Turning nothingness into reality. Once one reached this realm, one could turn the impossible into the possible. The great commander was jealous. If he had this kind of talent, then how many people in the world would be his opponent? He would have become a stronger grandmaster long ago. He was only one step away from the level of a grandmaster. The great commander's strength had already cultivated to the state of 9 dragons. As long as he cultivated another dragon, he would become a 10-dragon expert and become a grandmaster. The great commander was already surrounded by these cherry blossom sword energies, but he let out a disdainful laugh. Even so, they can't hurt me at all. My little phaseless divine art has been cultivated to the 9th level. The great commander was full of confidence in his divine art. In order to cultivate the 9th level of the little phaseless divine art, he could not even have sex. He was already so old, but he still maintained his virginity. This was really too difficult for a man. If not for the great commander's strong willpower, he would have collapsed long ago. So what? Murong waved her hand, and the cherry blossoms continuously cut the great commander's body, quickly enveloping him in a sea of flowers. Ding ding dang dang. The great commander's true chi and sword energies continuously collided, creating dazzling sparks. If not for the divine art protecting his body, the great commander would have already been cut into mincemeat. I already said it's useless. The great commander was very proud, but a cherry blossom suddenly cut through his defense, tearing his skin and leaving a bloody mark. The great commander was speechless for a long time, and even more cherry blossoms had already enveloped him. Break! He roared, and the true chi on his body vibrated, attacking the surroundings and blowing away Murong Ying's sword energies. I underestimated you. The great commander stared at Murong Ying. I didn't expect you to cultivate sword energies to this level. Since that's the case, this sovereign will not hold back. This sovereign is the master of the embroidered uniform guard, a gift from the great commander. The way the commander spoke had changed, as if he was a different person. The true chi on his body surged. His clothes were stretched open, and his body seemed to expand a little. It was all supported by the true chi. This was another way of using the minor phaseless technique. It could greatly increase the strength of a great commander. The commander threw a punch in Murong Ying's direction. Murong Ying moved sideways and dodged the attack. Bang! The advertisement board behind her was immediately left with a huge fist print. The commander-in-chief had brought out his true strength. It was extremely shocking. Meanwhile, the 2 peak experts had begun their real battle. The 2 black guards were also entangled with each other. Li Fan sat by the side and felt like a spectator. This feeling really made him a little uncomfortable. Become stronger. Li Fan had never wanted to become stronger so much. But the current him was not strong enough, so he could only watch helplessly as others fought for him. Why was this feeling so uncomfortable? At this time, Yushi could not hold on any longer. She was knocked back by Shadowless Sword in 2 moves and was seriously injured. She knelt on the ground and leaned on her black saber. It seemed that she could not hold on any longer. How ugly! Shadowless Sword sighed. The dignified heartless saber of the embroidered uniform guard actually ended up like this because of a man. Now, you can't even lift your saber. What ability do you have to protect him? I naturally have my ways. As Yushi spoke, she stood up with the help of her black saber and leaned against Li Fan's side. I never fail to make a promise. As she spoke, Yushi actually took the initiative to kiss Li Fan's lips. Although Yushi's body was seriously injured, she sent her true chi into Li Fan's body through her pure yang body. The strength of a black guard. Yushi's realm was at the peak. Her true chi was a total of 5 dragons. And at this time, under her initiative, she sent almost all of her true chi into Li Fan's dantian. She only kept 1 dragon for herself to use to prolong her life. At this juncture, You still want to be romantic? Shadowless Sword naturally did not know Yushi's intention and was still mocking. I think the heartless saber should be renamed to the amorous saber. As he spoke, he stretched out his hand and two black swords floated up. One flew towards Li Fan and the other towards Yushi. Let's become a pair of doomed mandarin ducks. But at this time, Li Fan suddenly opened his eyes. After absorbing the power of 4 dragons, Li Fan instantly refined 3 dragons and integrated them into his dantian. In this way, in terms of true chi, he was already a great master of 5 dragons. Just a kiss from you, she made Li Fan's strength quickly rise to the peak. This had a lot to do with him opening the God-connecting meridian. If not for this God-connecting meridian, Li Fan's dantian would probably burst. He suddenly opened his eyes and a pair of eyes almost emitted a dazzling light. Li Fan stretched out 2 fingers and flicked the 2 black swords. Clang, clang. The 2 black swords were directly bounced off and stabbed into the ground. You've worked hard. You've fulfilled your promise. Li Fan gently put Yushi aside and let her sit on a chair. Leave the rest to me. Impossible. Shadowless Sword could not believe his eyes. How could a mere high school student be able to so easily bounce off his shadow sword? This was not scientific. Did she do something to him? She could actually make a person suddenly reach the peak of strength? How was this possible? Interesting. Shadowless Sword looked at Li Fan as if he was looking at a corpse. You were probably lucky just now, but that's it. I, Shadowless Sword, will personally end your life. You can rest in peace. With that said, the other 5 shadow swords shot towards Li Fan, but Li Fan did not retreat. Instead, he moved forward with the crane's hand and easily knocked away the shadow swords that flew towards him. Impossible! This time, Shadowless Sword was finally shocked. He did not dare to believe that his unparalleled martial arts could not even defeat a small high school student. Did he take drugs? There's always someone better out there. Li Fan's expression was very calm. I just happen to have the power to teach you a lesson, that's all. Bullshit. You're still far from that. Shadowless Sword called back the 7 shadow swords and shot them towards Li Fan together. No matter how fast he was, it was impossible to deal with 7 swords at the same time. This time he was dead for sure. Chapter 251. Li Fan doesn't know how long his 5-dragon strength can last. However, he had to get rid of Shadowless Sword during this 5-dragon power period. The 7 black swords turn into black lightning and instantly appear in front of Li Fan. If he is not careful, he will die without a complete corpse. This was how experts fought. There was no such thing as stopping at a certain point, because every move was filled with killing intent. Although the 7 black swords are very fast, in Li Fan's eyes, they seem to slow down infinitely. Great sage star plucking. Li Fan stretches out his hands at lightning speed and grabs the black swords in front of him. In a blink of an eye, Li Fan has already grabbed the 7 black swords in his hands. His powerful internal energy makes Li Fan's strength even higher. The 7 black swords in Li Fan's hands shocked Shadowless Sword. Return them to you. Li Fan used the 7 black swords as hidden weapons and threw them towards the Shadowless Sword. But Shadowless Sword is also at the 8th level of minor formless divine art. He stretches out his hand and the 7 black swords stop in front of him. I didn't expect you to break through to the great perfection realm. Shadowless Sword looks at Li Fan a few more times, but you are still not as good as me. Next time I'll take your head. With that, Shadowless Sword's palm trembles and the 7 black swords shoot out in all directions. It is as if he is waiting for an opportunity to kill Li Fan. But Li Fan advances instead of retreating. Instead, he pulls out an afterimage in the air and quickly arrives in front of Shadowless Sword. Protect me! Shadowless Sword's heart tightens. He didn't expect Li Fan to attack directly. Agile snake bursts out of its hole. Li Fan instantly enters the snake strike state. His right hand is like a snake as it bites towards Shadowless Sword. The 7 black swords protect Shadowless Sword in time. However, when Li Fan attacked with his palm, it swayed left and right like a snake slithering through the grass, knocking away the 7 black swords. Shadowless Sword's body trembled. He didn't expect that Li Fan would actually break through his 7-sword defense in one move. Meanwhile, Li Fan's 5 fingers had already pierced his throat, causing Invisible Sword to instantly suffocate. He knelt on the ground, his face pale. Ape-long fist. Li Fan's fist smashed down without hesitation. However, Shadowless Sword was an expert after all. He sensed the fatal danger. The 7 swords flew over again and intertwined together, blocking Li Fan's fist. At the same time, Shadowless Sword's body slid 7 to 8 meters away. Then he rolled pathetically and stood up, looking at Li Fan in fear. A crack appeared on Shadowless Sword's mask, and then a part of it shattered. Although Li Fan's fist was blocked by the 7 swords, the fist aura still managed to injure him. This move looked like a great commander's fist technique. Could it be that Li Fan managed to learn most of it with just a glance? What kind of technique does this guy have? To be able to learn another person's move with just a glance, this is not something an ordinary expert can do. At that moment, Shadowless Sword felt a trace of jealousy in his heart. Such a genius might far surpass him in a few years' time. I must take advantage of the fact that he hasn't fully grown yet and kill him with my sword. Thinking of this, Shadowless Sword's killing intent was triggered. Little tyrant Li Fan, today is the day you die. As he spoke, he raised both his hands. The surrounding water in the pool suddenly began to churn. Before Li Fan could react, black short swords flew out from the pool and floated in the air. A total of 36 short swords floated in the air. They were like assassins waiting to execute Li Fan. Good technique. Li Fan could not help but exclaim in admiration. Shadowless Sword actually set up so many black swords in the surroundings. Normally he wouldn't take them out. But at a crucial moment he could use them to scheme against others. This was the best. Shadowless Sword had revealed his trump card. It seemed like he wanted to kill him. Li Fan, be careful. Yushi leaned against the chair. She did not even have the strength to move, but she still reminded Li Fan, this is Shadowless Sword's ultimate technique, 36 dippers. This sword technique is like a ghost. If you are not careful, you will be pierced by thousands of swords. Heartless Blade, I didn't expect you to be so knowledgeable. Shadowless Sword chuckled. That's right. My 36 dippers have never left anyone alive. This sword has killed a total of 71 people. Li Fan, you are the 72nd person to be sacrificed to this sword. With that, Shadowless Sword pointed at Li Fan. The 36 black swords immediately flew over with the momentum of wind and thunder. But Li Fan still stood there, hands behind his back, as if nothing had happened. The 36 swords arrived in front of Li Fan in a blink of an eye. One by one, they shot towards Li Fan. But Li Fan's expression was still so casual. With his hands behind his back, he strolled towards Shadowless Sword as if he was taking a stroll. Every time a black sword came in front of him, he would turn his body sideways or turn his head, easily dodging those black swords. There were 36 black swords, but none of them managed to hit Li Fan. My swords are clearly very fast. Shadowless Sword did not dare to believe how the opponent was able to dodge his sword formation so easily. It was only after Li Fan's strength had greatly increased that he was able to use his unique eyesight to easily dodge those treasured swords. Otherwise, even if he could see the sword's trajectory clearly, he would not have been able to control his body to perform such exquisite movements. But for the current Li Fan, it couldn't be any easier. Occasionally, when there were black swords that he could not dodge, Li Fan suddenly waved his hand and slapped the black swords away with the crane's hand. It could be said that Shadowless Sword, the world-shaking 36 Tiangang swords, was completely ineffective against Li Fan. Impossible! Shadowless Sword let out a hysterical roar. He could not believe what was happening in front of him. How could his killing move be ineffective? Meteor shower. Shadowless Sword suddenly pointed both of his hands at Li Fan. The 36 black swords in the air pointed at Li Fan at the same time, and like rain, they fell down together. Ha! But at this moment, Li Fan suddenly let out a roar. Shadowless Sword and Yushi's body froze at the same time, and the 36 black swords in the air stopped as well. Not only them, even the commander and Murong-ing, who were locked in a fierce battle, were stunned for a short second. But, Tiger, Emperor. Li Fan closed his eyes, and when he opened them again his entire aura had changed. At this moment he was like a king who looked down on the world, descending. Shadowless Sword looked at Li Fan in front of him, and he did not know why, but he actually had a feeling of wanting to kneel down. The aura that this man exuded was really strong. Chapter 252. Shadowless Sword only wanted to worship. He had even forgotten that he was this man's enemy. That feeling of a monarch descending upon the world made her feel fear. Even a great commander would not have such a powerful emperor's aura. What was the background of this man in front of her? Wasn't he just an ordinary high school student? For him to have mastered the 5 animal frolics to such an extent, it's truly unprecedented. Murong-ing sensed the powerful aura emanating from Li Fan's body and sighed in her heart. The person he had taken a liking to was indeed not ordinary. Not only are the children of my Murong family extremely talented, it seems that their foresight is also unique. At this time, Li Fan had already walked in front of Shadowless Sword. Go die! Shadowless Sword's 2 fingers pointed at Li Fan's vital points. This was his unique sword finger, which was similar to Murong-ying's sword finger. It contained powerful sword chi. Li Fan stretched out 3 fingers and pinched Shadowless Sword's wrist. His fingers pierced through Shadowless Sword's skin, creating 3 bloody holes. Ah! Shadowless Sword let out a blood-curdling scream. His wrist was in pain and his body became weak. Li Fan clawed at Shadowless Sword's head again. If Shadowless Sword were to be grabbed, his brain would probably be dug out. But right at this moment, Yushi shouted again. Have mercy! Li Fan's 5 fingers abruptly stopped on the Shadowless Sword's head. Yushi continued, Today, I'll keep you alive, but please keep my friend safe. You treat him as a companion, but he has never thought of you that way. Li Fan glanced at Shadowless Sword, then at Yushi. I'm very curious whether there are any favors left in the embroidered uniform guard. In my opinion, all of you are just a bunch of killing machines. Li Fan voiced out his thoughts. I didn't expect the heartless saber to have a little bit of humanity. How ironic. Arrogant bastard. Shadowless Sword took advantage of this critical moment to break free from Li Fan. He slid back a few steps and glared at Li Fan. You only succeeded in 1 move, that's all. Just that little bit of luck. Shadowless Sword did not want to admit his failure. Don't think that you can defeat the black guards of the embroidered uniform guard with this little bit of luck. You will never be able to understand my true strength. You still don't forget to brag at a time like this. Li Fan stood there with his hands behind his back, looking at the retreating Shadowless Sword. Bullshit, who's bragging? You stinking brat, don't talk nonsense. If you don't believe me, then why are you retreating? Li Fan asked with a smile. I just want to keep my distance from others. What can you do about it? Since you're not afraid of me, take 2 steps forward and we'll fight again. As Li Fan spoke, he stretched out a hand in the shape of a tiger's claw and aimed it at the invisible sword. Shadowless Sword's calf trembled as he subconsciously took another step back. Li Fan, don't be too arrogant. Shadowless Sword was somewhat angered. Could it be that he was really afraid of this guy? He was a black guard of the embroidered uniform guard, a great expert of the embroidered uniform guard. How could he be afraid of this inexperienced high school student? This was illogical and unrealistic. Moreover, the chief was watching. If he lost, how could he face him? 36 Celestial Dipper Swords. Shadowless Sword controlled the 36 black swords and sent them towards Li Fan. However, Li Fan's figure was like a fierce tiger coming out of the mountains. In the blink of an eye, he dodged those swords and instantly appeared in front of Shadowless Sword. What? Shadowless Sword did not expect Li Fan's figure to be so high. Moreover, Li Fan's elbow had already hit his chest. Bang! This time, Shadowless Sword directly spat out a mouthful of blood. Li Fan's palm once again slapped his chin, shattering Shadowless Sword's lower jaw. Then, his palm grabbed his head and slammed him to the ground, smashing a crack on the floor. Today, I owe you a life. Now, I'll return it to you. As Li Fan spoke, he retreated, no longer paying attention to Shadowless Sword who had already fainted. Where are you looking at? While the chief was in a daze, Murong Ying's cherry blossom sword chi pierced towards his eyes. The chief closed his eyelids and actually used the true chi on his eyelids to block the cherry blossom sword chi. He was still somewhat shocked in his heart. The black guard that he had nurtured had actually lost to this Li Fan? What kind of strength did he have to be so powerful? He felt that he had some talent, but he did not expect him to be so powerful. This young man, if he could not keep him by his side, he must get rid of him. Thinking of this, the chief suddenly punched towards Murong Ying. The powerful fist aura rushed towards Murong Ying, but was blocked by Murong Ying's sword chi. Taking advantage of this gap, the chief's figure had already quickly arrived in front of Li Fan. Then, he suddenly punched straight towards Li Fan's face. How dare you! Murong Ying was infuriated. The commander-in-chief had suddenly attacked Li Fan. This was too despicable. However, Li Fan did not move. He just smiled at the commander-in-chief. This smile actually gave the chief the illusion that he was facing an opponent of equal strength, and not a newcomer of the pugilistic world. The chief's fist subconsciously slowed down a little. As for Li Fan, he moved his body to the side and dodged the chief's fist. At the same time, he stretched out both his hands, and like the fangs of a fierce tiger, he ruthlessly bit the chief's chest. Double Black Tiger steals heart. However, the chief's minor phaseless divine art was more powerful. The true chi on his body blocked Li Fan's Double Black Tiger steals heart. Even so, the chief's body was jolted back 2 steps as he looked at Li Fan in shock. As for Murong Ying, she also jumped over and pointed her 2 fingers at the chief's forehead. The sword chi on Murong Ying's fingers was many times stronger than her cherry blossom sword chi. The chief did not dare to use his body to face it head-on. Instead, he quickly retreated 3 meters away, dodging Murong Ying's killing move. As a chief, you actually used such despicable tricks. How despicable! Murong Ying ridiculed. Uncle, it's not easy. The chief regained his previous playful tone. Looks like I won't be able to kill this kid today. I'm a little envious to have such a beautiful fiancé. How about we switch? You be the chief and I'll marry your fiancé? Dream on. Li Fan rolled his eyes. If you want to snatch my wife, you have to do it over my dead body. Tonight's moonlight is too beautiful. It doesn't seem suitable to kill. The chief looked at the sky. Forget it, I'll let you go. However, the next time we meet, it will be the day of your death. Chapter 253. My fiancé is actually someone that you can summon and dismiss at your beck and call? Murong Ying does not plan to let the commander off just like that. King, I might be giving you some face. This alliance Master Murong has already spoken so ruthlessly, causing the commander to lose some face. Alliance Master Murong, I admit that you can command the world of martial arts. But the embroidered uniform guard is between the pugilistic world and reality. You have no right to order me around. I am not ordering you around. Murong Ying smiles. I am just informing you. The rest will depend on your luck. As she spoke, Murong Ying waved her hand and the 36 black swords that had been tossed aside by the invisible sword immediately flew into the air. Under her control, they began to spin in the air and surrounded the great chief. Alliance Master Murong, one cannot be too rigid. The commander hurriedly says, as the saying goes, leave a way out for others to meet in the future. I do not wish to meet you twice. Murong Ying says without hesitation, I do not care if you are some embroidered uniform guard or something else. Since you dare to provoke my people, then you should have expected the consequences. Murong Ying, don't go too far. Seeing that Murong Ying is unmoved by force or persuasion, the commander is a little angry. So what if I am bullying you? Murong Ying still says in a domineering manner, if you have the ability, then fight with me for a few more rounds. Murong Ying, do you really think that this sovereign is afraid of you? The commander is angered to the extreme, and his entire person changes back to his previous fiendish appearance. This sovereign is only treating you as a junior. In addition, I have some friendship with Murong, which is why I am going easy on you. Until now, I have not used my full strength. He points at Murong Ing. I have already given you face. If you dare to be overbearing again, I will not let you off. Alright, I would like to see if what you say is the truth. Li Fan muttered in his heart, damn, this old man. Maybe Murong Ing will let him go after saying a few soft words. If he insisted on being so forceful, it would be a miracle if Murong Ing would let him off. Since that's the case, I don't need to show mercy. As the chief spoke, the clothes on his body bulged up again, and his true energy surged unceasingly. What surprised Li Fan and Murong Ing was that the commander's true chi was still rising. Let me show you the 9th level of the minor phaseless art. The head commander said loudly, submit to this sovereign's feet. As he spoke, he clenched his fists, and the black swords in the sky were immediately crushed into scrap metal. Even Murong Ing and Li Fan felt somewhat breathless. It was obvious that they were affected by the powerful true chi of this great commander. The 9th level. God's domain. The chief roared, and the area within a 100-meter radius was enveloped by the chief's true chi. This place was collectively known as his God's domain. Li Fan and Murong Ing found it difficult to even move a single step. Within a 100-meter radius, the density of the true chi was too high. Murong Ing was still slightly better. After all, her strength was comparable to that of the chief. As for Li Fan, it was slightly more difficult. He felt like he was sealed in a block of ice, and even moving was difficult. As for the chief, he was able to walk around freely, without being affected at all. Right now, the two of you are merely this sovereign's prey. The chief opened his eyes and looked at Li Fan and Murong Ing. In this God's domain, the two of you are unable to defeat this sovereign. And this sovereign's strength will also take a step forward, stepping into the realm of a generation's grandmaster. Since there is such a convenient cultivation technique, why didn't you use it earlier? Li Fan could not help but ask. Do you think this move is easy to use? The chief was practically gnashing his teeth as he looked at Li Fan, wishing that he could tear him into pieces. If I forcefully use all my true chi, this sovereign will lose the ability to procreate. Li Fan, for you, brat, this sovereign has no choice but to give up the power of a man. From today onwards, you are the #1 enemy of the embroidered uniform guard. Fuck, I am so honored. Li Fan pointed at his nose and said, in other words, because of me, you have become a eunuch? Damn it. The chief was provoked by these words and pointed at Li Fan. A powerful chi immediately wrapped around Li Fan's body, as if wanting to crush him. But Li Fan waved his hands. His fingers were like sharp claws, very sharp, and immediately shredded the true chi binding his body. So dangerous. Li Fan retreated a few steps and looked at the powerful chief in front of him. I didn't expect that a eunuch could be so powerful. Brat who refuses a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. You are actually provoking me again and again. The chief's patience had long reached its limit. He also didn't expect that he would be forced to use his ultimate move by a high school student. Was it a wrong decision to recruit him into the embroidered uniform guard? The chief was originally very confident and also very conceited. He had never doubted his own judgment, but this time he was afraid that he had miscalculated, and the price he had to pay was a bit too big. Li Fan, don't worry. With me here, he won't be able to hurt you. Murong Ing stood in front of Li Fan and looked at the chief with a deep look in her eyes. I will fight alongside you. Li Fan was not willing to be protected by Murong Ing. He stood out with an insufferably domineering aura wrapped around his body. I don't care if he is the last eunuch in the new China. If he wants to fight, I will play with him. With that, Li Fan also mobilized all of his true chi. This was the first time this husband and wife fought side by side. Truly ignorant. Do you think you can be enemies with a grandmaster? The chief sneered and raised his right hand. The bricks on the surrounding ground all left the ground and flew into the air. They collided in the air, shattered, and then piled up together. Not long later, a huge marble ball appeared in the air, slowly spinning. The two of you will die today. What Wolin Alliance Master, All of you must die. It seemed that in the eyes of the chief, Li Fan and Murong-ing had already become corpses. But Murong-ing did not say a word and only waved her hand. Those cherry blossoms immediately gathered and actually condensed into the shape of a cherry blossom sword, which was held in Murong-ing's hand. With a stomp of her feet, her body was like a fairy descending to the mortal world. She moved forward slightly, and at the same time, her sword stabbed towards the chief's heart. This powerful true chi suppression did not seem to have much effect on her. As for Li Fan, he stuck to the ground and sprinted forward. Although the true chi had a strong effect on him, his hands grabbed the ground, and with the help of the force of grabbing the ground, he quickly approached the chief. The two of them, one in front and one behind, one up and one down, arrived in front of the chief in the blink of an eye. The chief waved his hand, and the huge marble ball in the sky also fell down. Chapter 254. The huge stone ball smashed towards the two of them, but Murong-ing did not care about it. Instead, Li Fan slammed his hands on the ground, and his body bounced up to meet the stone ball in the air. This stone ball was more than a meter in diameter, and its weight was astonishing. In addition to the speed at which he was falling, if Li Fan were to use his own body to block it, it would be no different from hitting a rock with an egg. However, Li Fan was not afraid at all. After he jumped up, he forcefully compressed all the true energy in his body and sent it into his hands. That pair of palms faintly emitted a black light. Double, Black Tiger Steel's heart. Both of his palms suddenly struck out, hitting the stone ball. Bam! The true chi on the palm of his hand immediately exploded, causing the huge falling marble ball to shake. The stone ball stopped falling and suddenly stopped in the air. Li Fan's attack was not over yet. His hands continued to tear, and the stone ball was actually continuously torn apart by his hands, slowly falling down with his body. By the time it landed on the roof, the stone ball had already been completely torn apart, scattering all over the ground. As the saying goes, husband and wife are of one mind, their sharpness can cut through metal. When Li Fan went to deal with the stone ball, Murong-ing had already arrived in front of the great general. Following that, the cherry blossom sword pierced towards the great general's heart. The great general frowned. He extended his right hand and blocked in front of Murong-ing's cherry blossom sword. His true energy controlled Murong-ing's cherry blossom sword, making it difficult for the cherry blossom sword to advance even an inch. After becoming a eunuch, the great general's true energy was already much stronger than Murong-ing's. No matter how sharp Murong-ing's sword chi was, it was impossible for it to break through the great general's control. Do you think you can break through this sovereign's defense? The great general's face was filled with disdain. Murong-ing, you little girl, the gap between you and this sovereign is still too great. However, Murong-ing laughed. The cherry blossom sword in her hand suddenly began to disintegrate. Before the great general could react, the cherry blossom sword turned into countless cherry blossom petals and slapped the great general's face. Dang dang dang. The commander's true chi protected his face, and the cherry blossom sword chi kept smashing into it, creating golden sparks. However, there was still a gap to break through the defense of a great commander. It's useless. The chief sneered. Your sword energy cannot harm me. Murong-ing stretched out a finger and pointed behind the commander. The commander subconsciously turned his head and saw that Li Fan had unknowingly appeared behind him. This Li Fan seemed to have entered the alien bone-changing state. His body was almost 2 meters tall, and his shirt was already torn. His pants had also become cropped shorts, revealing his muscles. Bear cavalry soldiers. Bear King Seal. This palm directly slapped the great chief's back, causing his back to tremble. His heart trembled, and he tasted sweetness in his mouth. What kind of palm technique was this? It could actually injure him. But it was only a little. Just as the commander was about to mock him, Murong-ing's 2 fingers were already on his chest. Pooh! This sword chi finally broke through the defense of the great general and left a bloody mark on his chest. However, the great general's true chi had been trained into his muscles, so Murong-ing was only able to injure him a little before she flicked Murong-ing's fingers away. The eyes of the great general flickered with shock. At this stage, Murong-ing was still able to injure him. As expected of the genius girl who shocked the world, Alliance Master Murong. Her sword chi was indeed powerful. Before the great general could react, Li Fan's hands suddenly grabbed his waist from behind. Wild bear hugging the tree. Li Fan threw himself backwards and actually lifted the great general's body from the ground before smashing him backwards. What kind of person was the great general? Although he was shocked, he immediately stretched out his right hand and supported himself on the ground, stabilizing his body. The true chi on his body exploded and flicked away Li Fan's hands. Li Fan rolled on the ground and stood up again. And Murong-ing's figure swept over his head. The cherry blossom sword in her hand condensed again and stabbed towards the head of the great general who had just stood up. The great general stretched out his hands at the same time and controlled Murong-ing's cherry blossom sword. But Li Fan had also arrived in front of him, and with another Bear King seal, he slammed it on the chest of the great chief. This time, Li Fan took out all his true chi. The power of 5 dragons filled his palm and directly smashed onto the great general's chest. The great general's chest trembled heavily. Li Fan's true chi was like the waves of the sea, crashing into his chest wave after wave. The wound split open even wider, and in the blink of an eye, it created a terrifying pressure on his heart. Pooh! The great general spat out a mouthful of blood. She sat at the side and couldn't help but be shocked when she saw this scene. Someone had actually broken the great general's 9th layer body. Unbelievable! She had known the great general for so long, but she had never seen the great general's true body be broken. But Li Fan and Murong-ing had done it. One of them was the Alliance Master of the martial arts world, so it was not surprising. But the other was just an ordinary person not long ago. Although he had the help of her true chi, even if she was at her peak, she would not be able to break the great general's defense. All of you, get out of my way. The great general waved his hands, and Li Fan and Murong-ing's bodies were controlled and thrown out. Li Fan rolled on the ground and got up again. And Murong-ing's body did a beautiful flip in the air and landed steadily on the ground. The two of you actually dared to injure me. The great general's eyes were red, but Li Fan chuckled and said, "Great general, why are you angry? Fists and kicks have no eyes, and it is inevitable that they will hurt people. Don't tell me that the great general doesn't even have this bit of bearing? What exactly do you want to say? Just say it." The great general squinted his eyes and looked at Li Fan. "Great general, we have already fought for so long. To be honest, you are also a pugilistic world senior. Is it really good to keep bullying us 2 pugilistic world juniors?" The great general did not want to say anything, thinking that this Li Fan was too shameless. It was fine if it was him. But could that Murong-ing be considered a pugilistic world junior? That was the famous Alliance Master of the martial arts world, Murong-ing. If this matter were to spread out, you would also be disgraced. You see, as a 5-merit student in the school, I am willing to think for others and am considerate. Li Fan made a suggestion. I have thought of a way for you according to your difficulties. What do you think? Although he hated Li Fan's words, the great general was a little curious. If he defeated Li Fan and the others just like that, it would indeed not be good to hear about it. He and Murong-bo were people of the same generation. If he defeated Murong-bo, then the pugilistic world would recognize him. Defeating his daughter was not considered a skill. Chapter 255. Very simple. How about we make a bet? Li Fan knows that if they continue to fight like this, it will be very disadvantageous for him and Murong-ing. He must think of a way to end tonight's matter. Although this old fellow seems to have no moral integrity, he seems to value his reputation very much. Thinking about it, it is easy to understand. At his age, it is impossible for him to not cherish his own feathers. What bet? Commander, you are very confident in your martial arts, right? Li Fan says. After all, it is a martial art that he obtained from castration. It is impossible for him not to be confident. Of course, this sovereign's divine art is unparalleled in the world. The commander admits without hesitation. That's good. Let's bet on this. Li Fan claps his hands, Since you have mastered the divine art, how about you hit me 3 times? If you can't kill me, you can't make a move against me for a year. Li Fan makes such a strange bet, causing Murong Ying and the commander to be surprised at the same time. Murong Ying's consideration is that in a year, Li Fan should be much stronger. Moreover, she will also be much stronger. At that time, she will not be afraid of the king sending her away. However, can Li Fan really withstand 3 palm strikes? Although his martial arts is not bad, he did not learn any defensive martial arts. The commander's consideration is very simple. Li Fan will not be able to withstand 3 palm strikes from him. Even if he is lucky to be alive, he will be a cripple. This Li Fan, who does he think he is? Just because he obtained some of Yuxi's power, he dares to challenge me? Fine, it is just what I want. 3 palm strikes to decide the outcome. If I kill him, the world will not laugh at me. Murong's family will also not be able to say anything. Alright, since you are the one who proposed it, this sovereign will agree to it. The commander sneers. However, this sovereign's palm technique is ordinary. Let's change to a fist technique. If I can't kill you with 3 punches, this sovereign promises not to cause trouble for you for a year. Then it's settled. There are your subordinates here and also the martial arts alliance master. They will testify for the 2 of us. What do you think? Sure, no problem. Most of them agreed in unison while sneering inwardly. Because soon, it would be the death of this brat. Since everyone has agreed, let's do it. Li Fan crooked his finger at the commander. You can only throw 3 punches in total. After 3 punches, whether I'm dead or alive will not change anything. Don't worry. This exalted one always keeps his word. With that, the commander-in-chief suddenly punched the air at Li Fan. I'll send you to heaven. Li Fan instantly sensed the chief commander's fist aura. Although this fist aura was fast, his eyesight was extraordinary. Li Fan's body almost touched the fist energy and fell to the ground. His bangs were lifted, and the water tower behind him was directly smashed by his fist aura. The water inside tumbled out and gushed into the pool. Li Fan, on the other hand, stood up and wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. 1 punch has passed. The commander-in-chief frowned. He did not expect Li Fan to be able to dodge his fist aura. The commander-in-chief had calculated that the speed of his fist aura was no less than 50 meters per second. Although it was not as fast as the speed of sound, it was still a terrifying speed. This was equivalent to a car speeding at 180 kilometers per hour. Was it lucky to be able to dodge my fist? Thinking of this, the commander-in-chief could not help but take advantage of Li Fan's inattention to take a step forward and fiercely punch. Li Fan's body turned 360 degrees in the air and fell to the side. Boom! A billboard on the roof of the opposite building was smashed. The neon lights on it flashed randomly, startling the passers-by below. 2 punches already. Li Fan steadied his body, raised 2 fingers and said, The commander-in-chief no longer hesitated. He suddenly stretched out his right hand and directly used his true chi to grab Li Fan's body. Li Fan felt as if an invisible arm had grabbed his collar and pulled him to the front. The commander-in-chief's fist was already aimed at him and fiercely punched over. This time, Li Fan had no way to dodge. He immediately raised his arms and blocked in front of his body. At the same time, he entered the sky-swallowing toad state. In this state, he could freely use his true chi. All his true chi gathered in front of him, trying to block the commander-in-chief's punch. Bang! The commander-in-chief felt as if he had hit a wall. However, even if it was a wall, it would still be blasted apart by his fist. Sure enough, Li Fan took the punch head-on. His body was like a broken bag of noodles as he flew backward and fell far away before finally smashing into the ground. Li Fan spat out a large mouthful of blood. This punch directly shattered his defense and swept across his body. He felt as if all the bones in his body were broken. Not to mention other things, at least 3 of his ribs were broken. Every time he breathed, it was especially difficult. His mouth carried the taste of blood. But he still supported his body and half-kneeled. He looked at the commander-in-chief and said, I survived. The commander-in-chief looked at the half-kneeling Li Fan. Looking at his weak and proud appearance, he had the urge to punch him until he exploded. But if he said it, it would be a done deal. He was the commander-in-chief of the embroidered uniform guard. He could not go back on his words. If you want to regret it, you can beat me to death. Li Fan said, anyway, I can't resist. But when the time comes, the Jianghu will at most say that the commander-in-chief of the embroidered uniform guard went back on his words and bullied the younger generation. It won't have any substantial impact on you. Oomph. The commander-in-chief flicked his sleeves and turned around. Today, you managed to keep your life. According to the agreement, within a year, this sovereign will not make a move. Keeping your word, this is how a commander-in-chief should be. Li Fan praised. Praising people didn't cost money anyway. However, my subordinates don't have this restriction. You better hope that you can live past this year. With that, the commander-in-chief left without looking back. She had also recovered some of her strength and left with the commander-in-chief. You are really a madman. Murong-ing also knew that she could not kill the commander-in-chief, so she no longer stopped him from leaving. After they left, she came to Li Fan's side and helped him up. If it wasn't for your protective chi, even if you didn't die from this punch, you would have been crippled. Hee, don't be afraid, I still have your life-saving golden pill. Li Fan chuckled and took out the golden pill from his bosom. If it really doesn't work, I will use the golden pill to extend my life. Why do you still have it? Such a precious thing, I can't bear to eat it. Li Fan had a distressed look on his face. This is my trump card. When there is no other choice, I will take it out and use it. For example, this time, didn't I win? You can call this a win? Of course. Speaking of which, you can't do it either. The dignified martial arts alliance master was suppressed by a eunuch. Chapter 256. That eunuch's demonic attack is indeed powerful. Murong-ing does not have any vanity and frankly says, however, if I am at my peak, even if he has the strength of a generation's master, I can still defeat him. You're not bragging, right? I never joke about a martial arts competition. Murong-ing very seriously says, why do you think I can become the martial arts alliance's leader? If I don't have absolute strength, I can't get this position. Although a generation's master is strong, I still have a trick up my sleeve. Only when I use my full strength, can I use it. Then why didn't you use it just now? Li Fan quickly asks. Every killer move is equivalent to overdrafting myself. Murong-ing reminds Li Fan, if I don't recover my full strength, I can't use this move. If I use it forcefully, I will overdraft my life force. In that case, I can't have a child. Li Fan finally understands the reason why Murong-ing did not use her unique skill. And today, if the commander was not forced to this point, he would not use that killer move. You must know, I have just recovered my 7 dragon strength. Murong-ing reminds Li Fan. Previously, I have been fighting his 9 dragon strength with 7 dragon strength and still have the upper hand. If I use my killer move, even if he is a generation's master, I can still kill him in an instant. That sounds very scary. Li Fan does not know what Murong-ing's killer move is, but before she fully recovers her strength, it is better not to use it. Let me send you to the hospital. This kind of small injury, why go to the hospital? My ribs are broken, is this a small injury? Can't you help me apply some medicine? Li Fan's appearance makes Murong-ing angry. How many times have I said, I am not an immortal, nor a divine doctor. With your injury like this, you must go see a doctor. Do you understand? All right. Li Fan had no choice but to be sent to the hospital by Murong-ing. Li Fan couldn't remember how many times he had been hospitalized. Murong-ing had also helped him get his leave slip. Li Fan didn't have to think to know that the reason was definitely the recurrence of hemorrhoids. The doctor was almost familiar with Li Fan. When he treated Li Fan, he also removed the stitches on Li Fan's body. Young man, although you are still young, you can't ruin your body like this. The doctor earnestly advised Li Fan, if you continue like this, in a few years, your recovery won't be able to keep up. Which hospital did these needles for you? They're quite professional. The doctor muttered for a long time, but Li Fan did not dare to talk back to the doctor. He accepted the treatment in silence and ended up wrapped like a mummy. Doctor, how many days should I rest? Li Fan couldn't help but ask. Your ribs are injured. You need to stay in bed for at least half a month. The doctor told Li Fan, if you want to recover, you need to rest for 2 months. Within these 2 months, you are not allowed to do any strenuous exercise to prevent your bones from injuring again. Do you understand? Lying in bed for half a month would take Li Fan's life. Doctor, is there any quick cure? Li Fan begged. Half a month is too slow. It's 2 months. Moreover, there is no quick cure. The human body is fragile and needs to be taken care of. The doctor rolled his eyes at Li Fan. Within these 2 months, no matter what sports you are participating in, you have to stay in bed and rest. I might as well kill myself. Li Fan made a bitter face. After lying in bed for so long, wouldn't I become rusty? The doctor asked you to rest, so you should rest. Before Murong-ing left, she told Li Fan, wait until your body is full of vigor before you think about other things. If I don't go to class for many days, my courses will be delayed. When Li Fan said this, he was deeply moved by himself. This is the consciousness of a good student. Don't worry. There are 2 people who will come to tutor you. After saying this, Murong-ing left. Tutor me? It should be Lin Yuexin and Liao Wushuang, right? These 2 women better not meet each other. If they do, it will be very lively. Lying in the hospital bed, Li Fan couldn't calm down. I am going to be a regular in the hospital soon. In the future, there will be a lot of patients. Can they give me a 20% discount or something? Li Fan muttered to himself. Feeling sleepy, he couldn't help but slowly fell into a nap. After sleeping for an unknown amount of time, he suddenly woke up and found a figure standing beside him. This figure was dressed in black with a gilded vest. This person was slim, tall, and had a pair of long legs that were very eye-catching. This was none other than the woman who had a grudge with Li Fan, Yushi. At this moment, Yushi's face was a little pale. She stood there as if a gust of wind could blow her down. You're here? Li Fan looked at Yushi in front of him, not knowing why she came. However, he was injured now. If Yushi really made a move against him, he could only wait for death. I'm not here to kill you. I don't have that ability. Yushi said lightly, I just came to see if you're still alive. Sorry, I'm still alive. Do you want to stab me? For now, I don't want to kill you. Yushi said, even if the commander gives me a mission, I won't kill you. Why is that? Aren't you very rigid? The internal affairs of the embroidered uniform guard are also very complicated. Yushi's words had a hidden meaning. Anyway, don't worry. I just came to see you. I don't have any other intentions. That's interesting. Li Fan looked at Yushi up and down a few more times. His gaze seemed to be able to tear off Yushi's clothes, causing Yushi to blush slightly. The dignified black guard of the embroidered uniform guard, could it be that you've taken a fancy to me? Nonsense. Yushi glared at Li Fan. I've dedicated my life to the embroidered uniform guard. I don't fall in love or get married. Moreover, men are animals that think with their lower bodies. I don't want to find a man. It's not good for you to beat a man to death, right? Li Fan defended the man. You're full of chauvinism. Anyway, the matters between men and women are fleeting. Yushi said very seriously, it's enough for me to have a knife. Can a knife make you orgasm? You want to die, then come and kill me. Yushi was so angry with Li Fan that she didn't know what to do. You're still not being serious here. Right now, you're already in the top 3 of our blacklist. I don't know how many embroidered uniform guards are waiting to take your life. Does that include you? Li Fan didn't seem to care. Instead, he smiled and asked the beautiful black guard in front of him. I want to cut off your tongue first. Chapter 257. Aya, what should I do? When Li Fan heard that his tongue is going to be cut off, he seems to be very afraid. My entire body, but my tongue skill is the best. You want to die. Although Yushi is more rigid, she is not ignorant after all. She instantly understands the meaning behind Li Fan's words. She unsheathed her saber subconsciously, and a touch of cold light shines on Li Fan's face. Hey, if you don't agree with me, you want to draw your saber? Li Fan's face does not have the slightest fear. Instead, he says with a mischievous smile, all right, if I die under a peony flower, I will be a romantic ghost. To be able to become a ghost under your saber, beauty you, I am satisfied in this life. Glib tongue. She does not want to kill Li Fan, but she is indeed angered by Li Fan. If you say another useless word, I will send you to the Western Paradise. How can this be called useless words? Li Fan laughs. This is to communicate the feelings between the two of us. Beauty you, don't you think that by saying a few words like this, the distance between the two of us will be pulled closer? It's not that the distance between us has been pulled closer. She gives a very good explanation to Li Fan. It's that the distance between you and the grave has been pulled closer. I didn't realize that our beauty you is also sharp-tongued. Li Fan looks at She with some surprise. Not bad, beauty you, your tongue is also trained well. I will cut off your tongue first. She is a little flustered and exasperated. Li Fan hurriedly pacifies her. All right, I will not speak any more, okay? That's more like it. She nods in satisfaction and sheathes her saber. Other than coming to see you tonight, I have one more thing to ask you. You absorbed my power, is it because you really have a pure young body, or is it some other devil technique? Why aren't you talking? Didn't you not let me speak? Li Fan righteously says. She does not know whether to laugh or cry. Why are you like a child? You can speak now. You women are always so different. Fine, if you want me to say it, I will say it. I really do have a pure yang body. How is it? Do you want to kill me even more after hearing this? However, she shook her head. No, the pure yang body is yours. Fortune and misfortune go hand in hand. You just have to take care of yourself. I haven't told anyone else in the embroidered uniform guard about this secret. If you can keep it, it would be better if you don't tell anyone else. What's the matter? Do you think that my pure yang body will bring me trouble? Li Fan raised his eyebrows when he heard this. In this world, there are two kinds of people that can kill you. She reminded Li Fan. One of them is someone who cultivates the legendary Vairocana Heart Sutra. With this technique, they can absorb your pure yang body into their bodies. Damn, he's so sick. When Li Fan heard this, his heart skipped a beat. Fortunately, other than him and Lu Shinan, no one else knew the whereabouts of the Vairocana Heart Sutra. However, he didn't know how Lu Shinan's analysis of the Imperial Jade Seal was progressing. Did she have any important breakthroughs? What about the second kind? The second kind is also rare, but it's not impossible. She continued, in this world, where there's light, there's darkness. Where there's yang, there's yin. With your pure yang body, if you meet a woman with a pure yin body, she can use some techniques to suck you dry and obtain the power of your pure yang body. Through the fusion of yin and yang, she can obtain the legendary divine art of unification. The power of yin and yang is unparalleled in the world. She can use this technique to defeat everyone in the world. Fuck, Li Fan couldn't help but curse. What's wrong with you? She was a little curious. This was the first time she saw Li Fan with such a shocked expression. Nothing, Li Fan sorted out his emotions. At the same time, he thought in his heart, I knew that Murong didn't have any good intentions in loving that little fart girl. Sure enough, it's like this. So this was the reason why she had drugged him with the bewitching potion. Murong AI, the next time I see you, I, as your brother-in-law, will spank your little butt until it's rotten. In the future, you just have to be more careful. She said as her gaze fell outside the window. The two of us are enemies. I shouldn't have come here. Tonight, just pretend that I didn't come. That won't do. How can I forget such a beautiful woman just like that? Li Fan continued to talk nonsense. You have so many beautiful women around you. Will you still remember me, a person with a disability? She asked coldly. Disability? How are you handicapped? Li Fan began to play dumb. She didn't say anything. She just used her hand to touch her right eye. Yushi's left eye was as beautiful as spring water. It was watery and lovely. And her right eye, which should have been so beautiful, was replaced by a black eye patch. I think it's very cool, Li Fan said. Cool your ass. Why don't you believe me? Li Fan said seriously, the ancients have a saying, flaws don't cover up jade. Although you can't see it with one eye, you can't hide your charm. Beauty you, the first impression you give people is really amazing. Li Fan added in his heart, if only he wasn't so fierce. Really? Hearing this, Yushi was slightly stunned. She didn't know why, after more than 10 years of hard work, she had trained her heart to be as still as water, unmoved by external things. But when it came to Li Fan, she would always be shocked. Yushi didn't hate this feeling, because this feeling made her feel that she was more like a human. Of course it's true. Why would I lie to you? Li Fan hurriedly emphasized, you're an embroidered uniform guard. To you, a lie will be seen through in minutes. That's true. Yushi felt at ease and accepted Li Fan's compliment. So, you don't have to feel inferior at all. You're really beautiful. In theory, I have to admit that I have some special feelings for you. Yushi's character was different from other girls. She was very rigid and very frank. She directly said to Li Fan, before I came here, I specially checked the book. If you like someone, you'll often think about him. I've been thinking about you these days. I should like you. Yushi's frankness made Li Fan speechless. Originally, he wanted to tease her, but she was so honest, how could he tease her? However, I'm an embroidered uniform guard, and you're a wanted criminal. Yushi continued, I can't like you, so I will restrain this feeling. Wouldn't it be over if you killed me? Li Fan felt that he was courting death by asking. Killing you will only make me remember you forever. Yushi said without hesitation, I won't do such a stupid thing. Most of my liking for you is curiosity. When I get to know you for a long time and discover your shortcomings, I will hate you. Chapter 258. The heartless saber was not heartless. On the contrary, she displayed boldness and straightforwardness towards her feelings, without any concealment at all. In this aspect, she was much cuter than Murong-ing. I've said too much to you tonight. Yushi glanced at the moon, it was already getting late. I'm leaving, don't miss me. This sentence sounded like an order, and it was somewhat resolute. However, Li Fan suddenly called out to Yushi. Wait a moment. What else is there? Before I leave, I'll give you a gift. What? Before Yushi could react, Li Fan suddenly grabbed her hand. Following that, a wave of true chi spread out from Li Fan's palm and entered her body, causing Yushi to feel a warmth in her dantian. Not long after, she recovered most of her true chi, and her pale face became much more rosy. Yushi was a little puzzled and just looked at Li Fan. It's returned to its rightful owner, you're welcome. Why did you return it to me? Yushi was very surprised. If Li Fan kept this true chi for himself, it would undoubtedly be of great benefit to him. These were originally yours, I've already borrowed them for a while, they've helped me a lot. Li Fan had sent out so much innate chi, his lips were a little white, but his entire body was still in a good state. My strength has already reached the pinnacle, the rest is for me to slowly cultivate on my own. The missing true chi, I can cultivate for a while on my own. Before he finished speaking, Yushi leaned over and kissed his lips again. Another wave of true chi flowed out from Yushi's body and entered Li Fan's body. Yushi gave about half of Li Fan's true chi, making Li Fan feel much better. Very soon, the embroidered uniform guards will come to deal with you, keep some strength, just in case. Yushi stood up with a red face. You and I will each take half of the strength, this way we can protect ourselves, and we can recover very quickly. You're really thoughtful. Li Fan licked his lips, savoring the aftertaste. But the true chi that we've shared might be a bit uneven. Why don't you kiss me again and I'll help you adjust it? Screw you, go and kiss yourself. Yushi said as she walked to the window. You take care of yourself. With that, she jumped down and disappeared into the moonlight. This woman might be a little poisonous. Li Fan licked his lips and muttered to himself. Li Fan lowered his head and saw a small porcelain bottle beside the bed. It seemed to be something left behind by Yushi. He opened the porcelain bottle, and there was a slip of paper inside. Li Fan pulled it out and saw that it was a message from Yushi. Bone replenishing pill, a secret healing formula exclusive to the brocade uniform guards. There was only one pill inside, and he didn't know what it was made of. This thing might be a poison. But Li Fan secretly made a bet with himself. If this was a poison, he would admit it. Yushi didn't seem like the kind of girl who would lie to others. Li Fan swallowed the bone replenishing pill. The brocade uniform guards was an organization supported by the government, so they definitely had a lot of money. Naturally, there were a lot of elixirs that burned money. After Li Fan took the bone replenishing pill, he felt as if the energy in his dantian was being guided, and it began to spread out to the surrounding meridians. This true qi gathered on his broken bones, forming a kind of nutrient, and it actually made the bones recover faster. Li Fan's body recovered faster than ordinary people, and now that he had the bone replenishing pill, his recovery speed was much stronger. Li Fan sat cross-legged on the bed, his eyes looking at his nose looking at his heart, and he entered the inner vision mode. His eyes looked at his muscles and bones, which were constantly recovering. At the same time, he activated the sky-swallowing toad state, which made it easier for him to circulate his true qi. Abnormal bone changing, Li Fan condensed his true qi into the shape of ribs, and attached it to his broken bones. This way, even if his bones didn't recover, he could rely on the bones formed from true qi to move freely. This method was very convenient. Different from Murong Ying's materialization, Li Fan's abnormal bone changing allowed his true qi to freely circulate in his body, strengthening his body at will. The existence of true qi was something that science couldn't prove, and it was very magical. Li Fan gave it a try, then dispersed the true qi in his body, and quietly lay back on the bed to sleep. The melodious sound of a flute echoed in his ears, as if it brought Li Fan into another world, making him feel very at ease. Yushi stood on the roof of the hospital, playing the flute. I didn't expect the black guard, who kills without blinking an eye, to be so good at playing the flute. Yen Kai stood at the side, one hand on his belt, as if he was ready to fight at any time. Yen Kai, your qinggong is too weak. Yushi put down the flute and looked at Yen Kai. Wudong's #1 flute master, you don't live up to your name. Every profession has its own specialization. Yen Kai immediately defended himself. Besides, using a qinggong like Cloud Ascension Ladder would dirty my Qiao 12. Being controlled by external objects, this isn't the mentality a martial artist should have. Yushi lectured. Motherfucker, I actually got lectured by a girl. Yen Kai felt very uncomfortable. Ever since his strength had regressed, it seemed like anyone could bully him. Wait until the day this Taoist master's strength returns, then I'll make you all submit to me. Then we'll talk about it when that day comes. Yushi put away her flute. Since you're here, protect him for me. This is really strange, you're a genie guard. Why are you protecting Li Fan? Yen Kai couldn't help but ask. All of this has nothing to do with the genie guard, it's all out of my own will. Yushi looked at the waning moon above her head. I don't understand it myself. Before she finished speaking, she turned her head and glanced at him. Some little mice are coming, I'll leave them to you. After saying that, she leaped and disappeared in front of Yen Kai. Damn, this woman really likes to appear and disappear mysteriously. Yen Kai was particularly impatient with women's matters. He was too lazy to pay attention to Yushi, because two black figures had appeared downstairs of the hospital. Late at night, the inpatient department was very quiet, the patients were all asleep. This time, I'm going to avenge my father. Di Yao's son, Di Gang, wearing a mask, hurried over. Beside him was his helper, named Qing Ijia. Although the two of them were not members of the Genie Guard, they had a blood feud with Li Fan. This Li Fan killed Di Gang's father, so Di Gang naturally wanted to kill his enemy with his own hands. This kid is staying in the high-class ward on the 5th floor. Qing Ijia had already inquired about Li Fan's residence, and reached out to press the elevator to the 5th floor. Idiot, Why are you taking the elevator? Di Gang pulled Cheng Yijie. In the TV series, taking the elevator is a sure death. Take the stairs. Brother, you're being too cautious. It's good to be cautious. Hurry up, kill Li Fan. Not only can we take revenge, but we can also leave our names in the pugilistic world. Chapter 259. Di Gang's words really attracted Cheng Yijie's attention. Why did they wander in Jianghu? It was all for fame and fortune. No one knew where this Li Fan came from. Almost overnight, he gained his own name in Jianghu. Little Overlord Li Fan. His name was really like thunder piercing the ears. It was said that he alone killed the Imperial Secret Service's 1,000 households master Di Yao. Things in Jianghu were that simple. Sometimes, if you want to be famous, you only need to fight with a famous master. If you win, from now on, there will be a place for you in Jianghu. Now this Li Fan not only has a name in Jianghu, but also has a feud with Di Gang for killing his father. As the saying goes, one stone kills two birds. Di Gang came here tonight to kill his enemy, and at the same time leave his name in Jianghu. He was also quite unconvinced. His strength was already good, but why didn't he have a name in Jianghu? This kid named Li Fan used some unknown means to defeat his father. When I see him, I will definitely let him understand what a real master is. Brother, that kid is too strong, what should we do? While on the stairs, Cheng Yijie couldn't help but ask. Someone who can defeat my father. His martial arts should not be bad. Fuck, we haven't seen him yet. Why are you so busy boosting others' morale and diminishing our own prestige? Di Gang couldn't help but give him a punch. I have already inquired about it. That Li Fan is only at the level of ascension. The reason why he can defeat my father is because he used some despicable means. Only at the level of ascension? Of course, with the strength of us two brothers, if we join hands, we can definitely kill him. Di Gang said, there is no lack of people fishing for fame in Jianghu. This Li Fan must be one of them. Don't forget, tonight is the night we become famous. Yes, overnight fame. Hearing this, Cheng Yijie couldn't help but start thinking. Yes, as long as he and Di Gang become Li Fan, then Li Fan's fame will belong to them. They couldn't defeat Di Yao, but defeating Li Fan wasn't a problem. Di Gang and Cheng Yijie had already gone up to the 4th floor and arrived at the door of the 5th floor. The hospital was very quiet at night. Everything was so quiet, as if everything was in a deep sleep. The corridor was still filled with the smell of disinfectant, which made Di Gang and Zhang Ruiqiang a little uncomfortable. However, victory was right in front of him. Li Fan was just a novice, and it was said that he had been seriously injured recently and was lying in the hospital. The two of them were experts. Killing a patient was a piece of cake for them. As Di Gang thought of this, he became more confident. At the same time, he took out a dagger from his sleeve. Today, this dagger would drink blood. But before their dreams could come true, a man stood at the entrance of the 5th floor. The man wore a green coat and carried a large box on his back. His eyes were closed as if he was taking a nap. Wait! Di Gang suddenly stopped Cheng Yijie and cautiously looked at the man in front of him. Although this man didn't make any movements, for some unknown reason, Di Yao felt a dangerous aura coming from him. Who the fuck are you? Get out of the way! Cheng Yijie said, clenching his fists and preparing to attack. He practiced the Hong fist, which was very powerful. Seeing a door god standing in his way, he immediately couldn't hold back his anger and prepared to go all out. However, Di Gang inherited his father's calmness and once again stopped his brother. Who is your excellency? However, the other party was still standing there, silent, as if he was still sleeping. Although I don't know who your excellency is, today us two brothers have something to do here, so I ask your excellency to make way. Di Gang cupped his fists and said. The green-robed man finally spoke. Go back. What big words? Cheng Yijie was furious, jumping up and punching the green-robed man's face with his fists like cannonballs. This green-robed man was none other than Guan Wenbao. The green-robed man's eyes snapped open, and his pupils seemed to emit lightning, causing Cheng Yijie to tremble in fear. Then, Guan Wenbao immediately raised his foot and kicked Cheng Yijie. This Cheng Yijie came quickly and left quickly. Almost in the blink of an eye, he was kicked out and fell hard to the ground floor. Di Gang stood downstairs and stretched out his hands to catch Cheng Yijie. However, this huge impact forced him to take 2 steps back, and finally, he stepped on the wall behind him to stabilize his body. Di Gang was horrified. What kind of strength did this green-robed man have to be able to push him back so far? I'll say it one last time, go back. Guan Wenbao said coldly, otherwise, I won't be polite. What a joke, us 2 brothers, do you think we're afraid of you? Although he was surprised by Guan Wenbao's strength, Cheng Yijie thought that with his and Di Gang's strength, if they joined hands, they would be able to defeat him. Sir, this matter has nothing to do with you, but if you insist on blocking the way, don't blame us brothers for being ruthless. Di Gang clasped the dagger and made up his mind. Tonight, Li Fan must die, no one can stop them. If God obstructs, kill God. If Buddha obstructs, kill Buddha. Come at me. Guan Wenbao was in charge of guarding the stairs today. These 2 idiots did not walk through Yan Kai's territory, but chose to walk through his place. It was their bad luck. Di Gang and Cheng Yijie, one holding the dagger and the other clenching his fist, pounced towards Guan Wenbao from the left and right. The 2 of them were full of confidence. Guan Wenbao did not make a sound, nor did he retreat. He just untied the box on his back and threw it on the ground, making a loud clanging sound. The box was kicked open by him, and the crescent moon blade and the blade's handle popped out. Guan Wenbao stretched out his hand and grabbed the crescent moon blade with both hands. After the combination was completed, he shook the blade and used total annihilation, the blade facing the 2 people in the air. Di Gang and Cheng Yijie were so scared that they almost peed their pants. Why did a large blade suddenly appear out of nowhere? You can't play like this, it's too shameless. Di Gang hurriedly raised his 2 daggers and blocked Guan Wenbao's blade. His body was swept away and crashed into Cheng Yijie. The 2 of them smashed into the wall at the side, causing a crack to appear on the wall. Their bodies were like hanging paintings, hanging on the wall for a while before slowly sliding down. Last chance, either scram or die. Guan Wenbao held the crescent moon blade horizontally and stared at them, scaring Di Gang and Cheng Yijie so much that they almost peed their pants. Cheng Yingjin, who appeared out of nowhere, was too scary. Di Gang and Cheng Yijie looked at each other and saw the fear in each other's eyes. Hero, spare us, we'll leave. Chapter 260. Brother, are we really going to leave just like that? After leaving the hospital, Cheng Yijie asked reluctantly. Idiot, of course not. Di Gang sneered. If we can't take the stairs, we'll go to the rooftop. Although that man in green is powerful, he can't split himself up. Brother, you're really good. Cheng Yijie smiled when he heard that. I don't know where that Li Fan found such an expert to protect him, but no matter how powerful that expert is, he can't be omnipotent. Yeah, that's the logic. Let's go. As Di Gang said that, he used his qinggong and immediately jumped to the balcony of the hospital's 2nd floor. Cheng Yijie followed suit and jumped to the rooftop. Although the 2's ease was not amazing, it was still a small achievement. The height of the 5th floor was only a few jumps, and they had already jumped up. This time Li Fan is dead. Cheng Yijie reached the rooftop first, but before he could rejoice, a hand had already grabbed the top of his head. Lie down for this Taoist. A handsome man in white stood there, and his hand seemed to have a suction force, instantly pulled Cheng Yijie's head, and then fiercely threw him to the ground. Before Cheng Yijie could understand, he was already dizzy from the fall, and smoke was coming out of his 7 orifices. Brother, be careful. He only had time to shout, but Di Gang had already jumped up and bumped into the handsome man in front of him. Seeing the man's face, Di Gang instantly collapsed. The eldest disciple of Wudong, Yan Kai. Another one, good. Yan Kai laughed loudly, stretched out his hands, and placed them on Di Gang and Cheng Yijie, who had just gotten up. Tai Chi force, yin and yang reversal. Yan Kai's hands crossed, and the 2's heads collided with each other, directly colliding into each other. Both of their heads were broken, and blood splattered everywhere. Cheng Yijie fell on his butt, and this time he simply did not get up. Di Gang shook his head, took 2 steps back, covered his wound, and looked at Yan Kai in shock. Why are you here? There was a strong man who was good at using a broadsword in the stairwell, and there was actually a Wudong disciple here. Damn it, how could a mere hospital become a dragon's lair and a tiger's den? I'm bored tonight. 2 warriors, why don't you come and play? Yan Kai crooked his finger at Di Gang, causing Di Gang to turn pale with fright. Rumor has it that this Yan Kai has a homosexual fetish. Could it be true? Looking at his current lascivious appearance, it was really hard to deny these words. It seems that the 2 of you are quite skilled. Let me have a deeper exchange with you. As Yan Kai spoke, his left hand began to unbuckle his belt. Let this Taoist grandpa reveal his big sword, and spend a passionate night with you. Oh my god, let's run. Even Di Gang was afraid. This Yan Kai's skill was formidable, and he also had a long yang fetish. If he managed to subdue or kill him, it would be fine. At most, he would be a good man again after 20 years. But what could he do if he wanted to play with his ass? His wisdom in that life would be ruined. Di Gang turned around and ran. Cheng Yijie also stopped lying down. It was dangerous to play dead. Brother, wait for me, brother. The 2 of them, one after the other, jumped down from the building. Strange. Yan Kai was puzzled. We haven't officially competed yet, how could these 2 run so fast? Yan Kai couldn't figure it out, while Di Gang and the others were scared out of their wits. The 2 ran downstairs, gasping for breath, and began to study this matter. Li Fan, this kid is too mean. Di Gang angrily said, not only did he find a saber player, but he also found a butthole player. This is the first time in my life to see such a strange lineup. Brother, what should we do? Should we retreat? Cheng Yijie somewhat apprehensively said, I'm a little afraid. What are you afraid of? The more daring you are, the more productive you are. Di Gang immediately glared at him. What we are doing is dancing on the tip of a knife. This head of ours has long been attached to the waist of our trousers, you know? Brother, don't be attached to the waist of our trousers, isn't it a bit heavy? Fuck off, don't talk so much nonsense. Di Gang ruthlessly said, I can see that the 2 of us have committed a military taboo. Brother, what is a military taboo? Paranoid. Di Gang began to analyze his experience of this failure. Paranoid is the reason for our failure. The 2 of us have considered too much. As the saying goes, the most dangerous place is the safest place. This time I choose to take the elevator. Brother, you are really brilliant. Cheng Yijie admired Di Gang from the bottom of his heart. No wonder he was not as good as Di Gang when he roamed the martial arts world. The 2 of them discussed and regained their confidence before taking the hospital's elevator to the legendary 5th floor. When the elevator door opened, the 2 of them were very excited. If only they had taken the elevator earlier, they wouldn't have to suffer so much. Li Fan stayed in room 505. The 2 of them tiptoed, not making a sound, and quickly approached room 505. Victory is in front of us. Di Gang was secretly excited, and at the same time he clenched his saber. My beloved saber, tonight you can drink blood. His body slightly trembled as if he could already smell the blood. Shwa. Just when he was about to hum a song, a sword aura suddenly appeared in front of them, cutting in front of their feet. A ravine appeared there, and the 2 of them abruptly stopped in their tracks, looking forward in shock. A beauty wearing a purple cheongsam stood there, holding an ordinary taiji sword in her hand. The tip of the sword was pointed at them. Seeing this beauty's face, Di Gang's heart almost stopped. Damn. Isn't this the chief of the martial arts world, Murong-ing? Get lost. Murong-ing only said one sentence, but it scared the 2 of them out of their wits. Di Gang couldn't care about anything else. He lifted his feet and ran, breaking the window of the corridor and jumped outside. Cheng Yijie at this time also didn't have any brotherly feelings. He scrambled to jump out, wishing his parents could give him a few more legs. The 2 of them ran wildly in the middle of the night, leaving sparks and lightning along the way. After running for more than 10 kilometers, they finally stopped and squatted on the ground, panting. Brother, what should we do now? Qing Yijie panted as he asked their leader. Brother. Di Gang touched his wildly beating chest, and then said with a sobbing tone, Brother has thought it through. Brother will retire from the underworld. Why brother? Because the underworld is too scary. Brother can't stand it anymore. Brother, if you want, you can go kill that kid yourself. Brother is going back to my hometown to farm. Don't go, brother. Take me with you. Let's go together. Qing Yijie quickly chased after him. The two killers left a long, lonely shadow in the night. Chapter 261. Li Fan had a good night's sleep. He didn't know why, but he slept especially soundly. It was rare that he didn't even have a dream. But this happy day didn't last long. Just as the sky brightened, someone carrying a small school bag walked into his ward. Li Fan, why are you always injured? Lin Ying walked in and put the comforting gifts on Li Fan's bedside table. Is your luck not too good? Why don't you go to the temple and burn some incense? Lin Yusin said seriously. Comrade Lin, aren't you a firm believer in science? Why are you talking about superstition? Li Fan was moving his arm. Hearing Lin Yusin teasing him, he immediately smiled and asked. This is the concern from the organization. Lin Yin sat on the bedside of Li Fan. She took out her school bag and said, The organization thinks that Comrade Li is brave and strong, but lacks faith. Therefore, we want to cultivate Comrade Li's faith first, and then cultivate Comrade Li's unyielding fighting spirit. You want to send me to the battlefield. As the saying goes, the examination room is like a battlefield. Lin Yuthan winked at Li Fan. During your vacation, the second weekly exam is coming. Although the school approved your vacation, there is a condition. That is, you have to attend the weekly exam as usual. If you fall to the last place, you will be expelled. Fuck, the school is too hard on me. Li Fan wanted to curse. This is called the arm can't twist the thigh. Don't you know this sentence? Lin Yin reminded Li Fan, you brought this upon yourself, who can you blame? I told you not to go against the school, but you didn't listen. Look, now it's okay. The school has locked their target on you. Most of the damage output is concentrated on you. I think so too. Li Fan was also a little depressed. This bunch of people in school. Every day, instead of thinking about how to make the students happier, they're only thinking about how to mess with me. That's not entirely true. Doesn't the school place a lot of emphasis on students' grades nowadays? Lin Yuhin even defended the school. Bah, that's called attaching importance to results? They only cared about the enrollment rate. After all, for a school, enrollment rate is money. Li Fan sat on the sickbed and spoke with fervor and assurance. I believe that the essence of a school is how to cultivate an outstanding student. This excellence was not in terms of results, but in terms of character. Moreover, what the school needed to do was to care about the healthy growth of a student's heart, and not just how to improve their scores. In my heart, school is a place to teach and educate people. But as you can see, this so-called school of ours only does teaching. It doesn't have any achievements in the field of educating people. Why are you talking so much? You still have to go to school. Lin Yuhin rolled her eyes at Li Fan. Don't tell me you want to drop out of school. That's not possible. After all, school is a place to broaden one's horizons, and one can make a lot of friends there. Especially a university. It's a very good platform. Li Fan felt a little motivated when he thought of his future in university. But I don't agree with the previous education methods. That's enough, stop sighing over there. Lin Yun felt that she could not stand Li Fan anymore. This guy always has some fantasies. You're not the director of the Ministry of Education. Why can't you make up for it? Of course, I will make up for it. Li Fan admitted defeat. But don't you have lessons today? It's okay. I have finished the high school curriculum by myself. Lin Ying waved her hand indifferently. The teacher's lecture is also boring. I can't learn faster than myself. Li Fan was speechless. This woman, just because she has a high IQ, she can be so amazing. Alright, let's review your math first. Lin Yuyan was very serious during the lecture. Li Fan had no choice but to be serious as well. The two of them started with math and went all the way to geography. Her lectures were based on test papers. She let Li Fan study through different types of questions. At this moment, the ward door was gently pushed open. Liao Wushuang walked in with a bouquet of flowers in her hands. She looked at the two people in the room. This beautiful teacher had a ponytail, black-rimmed glasses, and was dressed in an OL uniform. There was a sense of temptation in the uniform, causing Li Fan to involuntarily think of the scene in the action blockbuster of the island nation. His thoughts immediately turned evil. However, Lin Yuxian didn't have such thoughts. On the contrary, she was a bit angry, but she held it in and said to Liao Wushuang. She looked at Liao Wushuang and said, "Hello, Teacher Liao. Classmate Lin is also here." Liao Wushuang walked in, carefully put the flowers in the vase next to her, and then said, "I heard that you also tutored classmate Li. The relationship between you two is really good." "That's for sure. After all, we are boyfriend and girlfriend." Lin Yuyan emphasized the word boyfriend and girlfriend. Liao Wushuang blinked her eyes. "Really? I thought it's not so open in China." "Teacher Liao, don't listen to her nonsense. We are just joking around." Li Fan hurriedly explained. "What's wrong with this little girl today? She actually said that the two of them were boyfriend and girlfriend. This was not in line with her usual character." "What are you joking about? Everyone in the family knows about it." Lin Yuyan reminded Li Fan, "My mom always talks about you. Teacher doesn't object to puppy love, but don't delay each other's studies." Liao Wushuang smiled, bent down, and affectionately asked Li Fan, "Classmate Li, are you feeling better?" Lin Yuyan looked at the huge weapon that was hanging down, and a thought arose in her mind. Challenge. This is an invisible challenge. Damn it in this aspect. How can I be so disappointing? Teacher Liao, thank you for coming to see me. Li Fan hurriedly thanked her. Don't mention it. You are teacher's student. It's natural for teacher to care about you. Liao Wushuang tidied up her skirt and then sat on Li Fan's bed. The curve of her buttocks showed a perfect arc. This teacher Liao's figure is too good. Even Li Fan, who has seen countless women, could not help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. This devil's figure. Liao Wushuang should be the best figure among all the girls I know. God is fair? That's pure nonsense. When God created humans, he definitely had his own selfish motives. At least this Liao Wushuang is God's most outstanding work. With such a beautiful girl as an English teacher, I wonder if everyone's English will improve or fall. Chapter 262. Today, aside from checking on your physical condition, I also want to help you with your English. Liao Wushuang said and took out her handout from her purse. You missed a lot of English lessons these 2 days, you need to make up for it. There's no need to trouble teacher Liao. Lin Ying was like a mother hen protecting her chick. She immediately vigilantly said to Liao Wushuang, Teacher Liao, how busy are you? Just leave the tutoring to me. I know, classmate Lin's English is indeed very good. Liao Wushuang first praised, classmate Lin must be very smart, your IQ should be very high, right? It's okay, just 140. Although Lin Yugen said it modestly, but Li Fan said that if this girl had a tail, her tail would be as high as the sky. But I don't really agree with classmate Lin's learning method. But then, Liao Wushuang's next sentence began to attack Lin Yuqi. Classmate Lin's learning method is too rigid, it's more like studying for exams. But that's not the case, learning should be based on interest, not for exams. What teacher Liao said is right. Lin Yuezhen clapped her hands, feeling like she agreed with Liao Wushuang. But, teacher Liao's method is only useful abroad. In China, it doesn't have any effect. China's sad education system needs to be reformed. Liao Wushuang argued, Classmate Lin, you should fight for what's right, how can you just give in like this? Because I'm in this sad system. Lin Ying said without hesitation, I'm just a student, I can't jump out. Moreover, Li Fan is also an ordinary student, Teacher Liao, please don't brainwash him. Right now, he's a bit out of touch with reality. How can you say that, classmate Lin? Liao Wushuang gently frowned. Student Li has her own awareness and thoughts, which I, a small English teacher, can't control. I'm not a multi-level marketing organization. How can I brainwash others? I don't know about that. In any case, you have your own methods. I have to say, teacher's way of thinking is really dangerous. Lin Yuhsen reminded Liao Wushuang, if you can't change China's education system, then please don't brainwash our students. After all, we still have to go to university. You may think that what I said is useless. I understand. Liao Wushuang nodded and did not get angry. Instead, he gently said, but if every student doesn't have this kind of awareness, how can this deep-rooted wrong thinking be changed? That's not something I should be thinking about. Lin Yuhsen shrugged. I just need to be responsible for getting into a good university. Classmate Lin, there's no doubt that you're very smart. Liao Wushuang sighed softly. But you're a little selfish. This is just a student's most normal thought. If you want to adapt to this society, that's the only way. You give in too easily. Liao Wushuang said, looks like you need to learn more from me. Forget about me. Lin Yuhsen repeatedly shook her head. Teacher Liao should continue to teach us. We can do this kind of tutoring by ourselves. My method is more suitable for Li Fan. Liao Wushuang was still firm. Because he used my method, his English score can be the first in the class. What? Li Fan was surprised. I got the first in the class? Yes, even Deng Siwei couldn't beat you. Liao Wushuang winked at Li Fan. You're 5 points higher than him. What the, so awesome. Li Fan was a bit stunned. He just felt that the exam paper that day was somewhat familiar, so he answered it well. Unexpectedly, he got the first in the class? That's because of the type of questions I looked for. Lin Yuhsen interrupted Liao Wushuang's words. That day, I looked for some types of questions, and it turned out that my prediction of the type of questions was very accurate. Lin Yuhsen's words made Liao Wushuang unable to accept it. Your method of answering questions is not helpful to learning. It's me who cultivated Li Fan's interest in learning English, otherwise, he would have no desire to learn. That way, he would only be a learning machine, not a real person, understand? Teacher Liao's long-winded speech has always been very popular among the students. Lin Yuhsen laughed, but it has no effect on me. I have a firm ideal, firm belief, and will never be brainwashed by teacher. Then how about we do a test? Liao Wushuang suddenly said. Test what test? Lin Yuhsen was puzzled. It's just a simple test to see whose method is more effective on Li Fan. What's the point of this test? Why, you don't dare. Humph, why wouldn't I dare? Let's do it. Lin Yin immediately agreed, but she muttered in her heart, why am I able to lead Murong Ying when facing her? But when facing this Liao Wushuang, I'm led by her. This woman is so scary. You too. Shouldn't you respect my opinion? Li Fan felt somewhat helpless. After all, I'm also the person involved, okay? You have no right to comment on this matter. Lin Yuhsen glared at Li Fan. After all, it's related to our values and reputation. Liao Wushuang also pushed her glasses. The two women were extremely calm as if they were having a battle without gunpowder. Fuck, then why do I have a feeling of being a guinea pig? Li Fan was somewhat perturbed. What do you two want to do? A small test. Liao Wushuang said with a smile. In the following time, me and classmate Lin can only speak to you in English and let you guess a few words. Look at the two of us, the one who guesses the most words will have the best method. Fuck, isn't this just you gesturing and I guess? Li Fan heard the general gist of it. Are you sure this method is really effective? It's indeed effective. Lin Yuhsen also agreed with this method. Then let's have a competition, Teacher Liao. The time is 1 minute. See who can guess the most words. My method is absolutely the best. Okay, I agree. Who's first? Liao Wushuang smiled as if victory was already in her grasp. Her confident look made Lin Yuhsen very unhappy. Liao Wushuang was also unhappy. This Lin Ying was so rigid, moreover, she has been calling herself Li Fan's girlfriend. If I don't teach her a lesson today, She won't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Chapter 263. Since you are a teacher, you naturally have to give in to me, your student. At this time, Lin Yifan is not polite at all. She stands in front of Li Fan and looks at the set of words that Liao Wushuang gave her. There are a total of 7 words. Whoever guesses the most correctly will be the winner. The words given by Liao Wushuang are indeed not that difficult, but out of modesty, a teacher deliberately gave in to Lin Yueqing. These 2 words, one is Harry Potter, the other is Li Xiaoyao, and the rest are characters from games and novels. Lin Yin uses her clever little brain and uses her fluent English to introduce Harry Potter to Li Fan. But Li Fan is confused. He really doesn't know what this Li Fan and Lin Yueqian are talking about. Time is limited, and with each passing minute, Lin Yueqian's heart is getting more and more anxious. She feels like an ant on a hot pan, walking around but can't find a breakthrough point. Li Fan was still foolishly sitting there, staring at him. He actually had a feeling that he wanted to see through the limpid autumn water. Liao Wushuang is counting down. That silver bell-like voice, in Lin Yueqian's ears, is so ear-piercing. I can't stand it. How can Li Fan be so stupid? Time's up. Liao Wushuang said, can't guess a single word, fail. Damn it, damn it. Lin Yueqian angrily stomps her feet. If it were you, you also can't do it, he is too stupid. Hey, is it really okay to say that? The veins on Li Fan's forehead are throbbing. This Lin Yin is too stubborn. Okay, it's my turn. Liao Wushuang walks in front of Li Fan. Her devilish figure makes Li Fan can't help but be a bit infatuated. Lin Yin racked her brains and came up with a set of words. The first one was a difficult word to describe. Wails and cries filled the land. It was followed by a string of idioms, such as the rising of beacons, the trembling of the wind and the trembling of cranes, and so on. Liao Wushuang smiled and pointed at her chest. This idiom? Tolerance is great. Li Fan said immediately. Bingo, you guessed it right. Liao Wushuang's eyes curved into crescent moons. You're so smart. As she spoke, she turned to look at Lin Yu, who was dumbfounded. He guessed one right. You failed. You're cheating. Lin Yueqian was furious. You're not following the script. How could you start from the last word? I didn't break the rules of the game. You were the one who followed the rules too strictly, so you lost. Liao Wushuang said with a smile, Classmate Lin, a loss is a loss. Don't tell me you don't mean what you said? Lin Yin was not convinced of her loss. But a bet was a bet, I know. From today on, you'll tutor Li Fan in English. But I'll tutor the other courses. You're not allowed to steal from me. You two have such a good relationship. I'm so envious. Liao Wushuang couldn't help but say. We're boyfriend and girlfriend. Of course it's good. Lin Yueqian declared her sovereignty all the time, as if she was afraid that Liao Wushuang would seize her power. Then, my little girlfriend, can you leave now? Liao Wushuang unexpectedly asked her to leave, which surprised Lin Yueqian. Why should I leave? Because the teacher has a habit of doing one-on-one tutoring and doesn't allow outsiders to disturb him. Liao Wushuang reminded Lin Yueqian, remember our bet. Damn it. Lin Yueqian was very depressed, but there was nothing she could do. She packed her bag and walked out in a huff. I'll come again tomorrow. Remember, the other courses are mine. Don't worry. I'll keep my word. Liao Wushuang reassured Lin Yueqian, but Lin Yueqian still left unwillingly. After she left, Liao Wushuang looked at Li Fan with a smile that was not a smile. Teacher Liao, why are you looking at me like that? You're making my hair stand on end. Li Fan couldn't help but ask. He was indeed uncomfortable being looked at like that. Although it's a good thing to be looked at by a beauty, after being looked at for a long time, he would feel his hair stand on end. I really didn't expect our classmate Li to be a little Casanova. Liao Wushuang's voice carried a trace of mockery, making Li Fan somewhat unable to bear it. Teacher Liao, you really know how to insult people. Li Fan was very helpless. I don't think so. She's your little girlfriend. That's just the two of us fooling around. Don't take it seriously. Li Fan waved his hand. It's a long story. She's a woman, I can see that. Liao Wushuang opened her lesson plan and said, her feelings for you are very serious. She's just on a whim. Li Fan explained, this woman is a strong woman. She wants to be a qualified psychologist. As for the others, she's just on a whim. This woman is smart and very rational. In this world, there is no woman who is completely rational. Liao Wushuang said, even a rational woman will have an emotional existence in her heart. Once there's a man who can make her heart lose balance, her so-called rationality will be lost. Okay, our teacher Liao's philosophy class is over. Li Fan was most afraid of Liao Wushuang's philosophy class. He quickly waved his hand and said, let's do some tutoring in English. No problem. Liao Wushuang was not pretentious and immediately entered the teaching state. Because she was in the hospital bed, Liao Wushuang sat next to Li Fan. Because of what happened that day, the relationship between the two has become a lot closer. It was as if some invisible barrier had been unraveled. Liao Wushuang leaned on Li Fan's body and told him today's lesson. Li Fan sniffed the milk while learning. He had to admit that this was a challenge. But to have a beautiful teacher to tutor him, this was a benefit that other boys envied to death. However, wouldn't this be unfair to Bai Lin Luo? Li Fan's heart was beating like a drum. But on second thought, he decided to leave everything to fate. He didn't want to chase after teacher Liao. If the two of them could be good friends, it would not be bad. By the time Liao Wushuang finished her lesson, the sky was already dark. That's right. Liao Wushuang closed her lesson plan, turned her head, looked at Li Fan very seriously and said, Li Fan, where do you want to go on a date? The two of them were very close to each other. If they moved a little bit closer, they would be able to kiss. This kind of feeling, even Li Fan couldn't help but blush. This Liao Wushuang. Is she a female teacher, or a devil? This temptation is definitely not ordinary. At that moment, Li Fan's mind slightly stagnated for a second. Chapter 264. Date. After a second or two, Li Fan reacted. Yes, date. Liao Wushuang nodded seriously. We also had a small bet. Did you forget? Liao Wushuang's words made Li Fan's mind feel like there was a small bug flying along his cranial nerves. After a flash of thought, he suddenly remembered that the two of them made a bet in the car. If Li Fan could get first place in the English test, they would go on a date. At that time, it was really just a casual remark. He didn't expect that he would really get first place. This should really be attributed to Lin Yuhsin's type of questions. When he was doing the questions, he felt that the questions were particularly familiar. Lin Yuhsin's answers were really amazing when used to deal with the exam. Being too close to Liao Wushuang always gave him a feeling of being poisoned. Li Fan subconsciously leaned back a little. He was the first person in history to take the initiative to distance himself from a beautiful woman. That, Teacher Liao, I just said it casually, please don't take it seriously. Li Fan explained. How can I do that? I must do what I say. Liao Wushuang immediately said, I'm a teacher, and as a teacher, I must set an example for you. Tell me, where are we going on a date? We have to wait until I'm discharged. That's true. Liao Wushuang nodded, but in the beginning, a date is a date. It's only limited to the basic relationship between a man and a woman. Although I grew up in a foreign country, I'm still very conservative in some aspects. Especially between us, teacher and student, we can't do that kind of thing. You know. Liao Wushuang, who was very fierce just now, suddenly became shy. This aroused Li Fan's desire to flirt with a girl. What kind of thing, Teacher Liao? He pretended not to understand and asked Liao Wushuang. That kind of thing. Liao Wushuang also didn't know how to explain, but Li Fan seemed to be more confused. Teacher, if you don't say it clearly, how can I guess? Li Fan was very puzzled. Teacher, please dispel my doubts. This matter, Liao Wushuang stretched out her two hands. One hand formed a ring, and the fingers of the other hand twitched in the ring. Black lines appeared on Li Fan's face. Damn, Teacher Liao, you are too explosive. If you make this gesture, you might as well say it out loud. How awkward. Liao Wushuang also seemed to feel that her work might be a little inappropriate. She withdrew her hand in a panic and asked, Do you understand now? What do you know? Teacher Liao, is your finger hurt? Li Fan decided to continue playing dumb. Didn't Liao Wushuang have a lot of Western-style advanced thinking? Didn't he just confidently say that Yu Rong was the greatest? Why did he admit defeat now? Liao Wushuang didn't know if Li Fan really didn't know, or if he was pretending. But looking at his innocent expression, it was as if he really didn't know. It's sex. Liao Wushuang finally said this word. My God, Teacher Liao, what are you talking about? Li Fan was greatly surprised. Teacher Liao, in my heart, you have always been a serious and good teacher. But now you actually said such words. Teacher Liao, I am a little boy who has never even seen an adult film. I'm sorry. Liao Wushuang hurriedly apologized to Li Fan. It's teacher's fault, I shouldn't have thought about those things. Teacher Liao, we have a firm teacher-student relationship. These messy things will disturb our hearts and destroy our relationship. This is not good. Li Fan began to preach in a serious manner. Yes, teacher's fault. Liao Wushuang couldn't help but ask, but are we really just teacher and student? Otherwise? Li Fan asked. I think we are still friends. Liao Wushuang blushed and explained, usually in class, of course it's teacher and student. But after class, we are friends. After all, teacher is not much older than you, just 2 years older. Huh. Li Fan was really surprised this time. Teacher, you're only 2 years older than me? But you've been studying abroad for so long. I was admitted to college at the age of 16, and then as an exchange student, I studied abroad for 4 years. Liao Wushuang explained, causing Li Fan to have a mental breakdown. The girls he knew were all very smart. This made Li Fan have a feeling of being at the bottom of the food chain, which made him a little uncomfortable. What's wrong? Does teacher look old? Liao Wushuang was a little nervous and gently touched her beautiful face. No, teacher looks like a high school student. Li Fan hurriedly explained, if I didn't introduce you as a teacher, I would have thought you were my junior. You have a sweet mouth. Liao Wushuang covered her mouth and laughed. Her previous worries were swept away. Teacher, how do you know I have a sweet mouth? Did you take advantage of that day when I was sleeping to do something to me? Li Fan nervously looked at Liao Wushuang, but Liao Wushuang secretly pinched Li Fan. Didn't we agree? Don't mention that day's matter again. Okay, it's my fault. Li Fan smiled and said, but it's hard to imagine that a thoughtful person like Teacher Liao would be afraid of thunder. Nonsense, teacher is not afraid of thunder. That day, I was just in a bad mood. Liao Wushuang pretended to be brave and said, what's there to be afraid of thunder? Using a scientific explanation, there's nothing to be afraid of. She said, stood up, teacher went home. You take care of yourself. This girl, she's getting angry. But just as Liao Wushuang stood up, a loud thunder came from outside. Liao Wushuang's face immediately turned white, and her legs seemed to be a bit weak. Li Fan wanted to laugh. This is too much of a coincidence. That's right, it seems like the preview said that there will be a thunderstorm today. I didn't expect that after not raining for the whole day, it would finally come. Teacher Liao, take care. My body is not convenient, so I won't send you off. Li Fan waved his hand. The hospital's underground parking lot is a bit dark. You have to be careful. Li Fan. I just remembered that I forgot to tell you 2 questions. Liao Wushuang moved over, sat next to Li Fan, and gave him a hollow laugh. As a responsible teacher, I must finish the questions before I leave. If there's thunder all night, you won't leave? Hey, it has nothing to do with thunder. It's a sense of responsibility, a teacher's sense of responsibility. Do you understand? Liao Wushuang emphasized. Chapter 265. He didn't know if it was because of Li Fan's jinx, but the thunder really went on for a whole night. The huge thunder rumbled as if the heavens were enraged, letting out a roar that caused one's heart to palpitate. As a boy, Li Fan felt it was okay. After all, he didn't do anything wrong, so he wasn't afraid of ghosts knocking on the door. No, not afraid of thunder knocking on the door. But Liao Wushuang couldn't. As a girl, she always had her own weakness. She sat next to the bed, shivering, and her face was a little pale. She was very serious when she was teaching, but after a few thunder, Liao Wushuang couldn't concentrate, and her hands were trembling. Li Fan thought that when there was thunder, she must have screamed again and again. It was not easy for her to endure it like this. "Teacher Liao, you are shivering like this, isn't it a little cold?" Li Fan suddenly had an idea, grabbed the quilt, put it on Liao Wushuang's back, and then put his arm around her shoulder. Liao Wushuang also seemed to be a little relieved, leaning in Li Fan's arms, and her lips slowly turned a little red. Li Fan was still thinking about whether Murong Ying was afraid of thunder or not. This emotionless woman, she should not be afraid. For her, thunder should be no different from a child's fart. This strong woman, is there anything in the world that she is afraid of? Hey, why do I think of Murong Ying when I am with Liao Wushuang? Li Fan gently patted his cheek, dispelling these useless thoughts in his head. Liao Wushuang leaned on Li Fan's shoulder. She was a teacher, but leaning on her student, she felt a sense of security. She was just a high school student, but why did she feel a special sense of security? Liao Wushuang narrowed her eyes, feeling a lot more comfortable. But every time there was thunder, her body would still tremble slightly, like a frightened rabbit, shaking in Li Fan's arms. Li Fan leaned on the bed, closing his eyes to rest. Liao Wushuang was resting, but he couldn't stay idle. He had to seize the time to train himself. The dantian in his body was spinning rapidly. Because he had given half of the Heartless Saber's power, he had to cultivate the rest of the true qi by himself. At this moment, Li Fan's body had a total of 9 acupoints, 5 of which had already been opened. As for the remaining 4, Li Fan still needed to work hard. Li Fan had a pure yang body. If he wanted to recover his true qi, it would be very fast. Under the nourishment of his dantian, the missing true qi was quickly replenished. Li Fan was now adjusting the true qi and charging towards the 6th acupoint. If he wanted to reach the pinnacle, he would have to break through the 6th meridian. Li Fan mobilized all of his true qi, and like a marching army, he began to attack the 6th acupoint. Li Fan's 6th meridian point didn't last long, as if it was because he had forcefully channeled a large amount of vital energy into it. The true qi in his body instantly doubled, as if it was a river surging through his meridians. This situation made Li Fan pleasantly surprised. His 7 heroes force had finally been cultivated to the 6th level. The sound of thunder outside seemed to be clearer. Every time the thunder rumbled, it made Li Fan feel like he was about to ascend. What, could it be that in this world there are really immortals ascending? Although he knew that it was impossible, for some reason, Li Fan still had the desire to soar into the sky and become a dragon in one leap. Liao Wushuang fell asleep in his arms, but he stretched out his left hand and made the snake strike technique gesture. According to legend, if a snake cultivated for 10,000 years and crossed the lightning tribulation, it could become a dragon. And with my snake strike technique, can I also become a dragon in one leap? Thinking of this, Li Fan's left hand shook a bit, as if a spirit snake had soared into the sky. At this moment, Li Fan felt his pupils constrict violently, and then his left hand directly stabbed into the wall beside him. The cement wall was like tofu, and it had no defense in front of Li Fan. Li Fan's palm stabbed into it. He was stunned for a moment. Fuck, this is awesome. In the past, Li Fan could also break a wall, but with the strength of his hand, he couldn't achieve such an effect. A person's fingers could also be trained, such as iron palm or diamond finger, which train the strength of the fingers. Including 8 trigram palm, many palm techniques also focused on the hand. Li Fan had seen an expert of 8 trigram palm, and his skills were all focused on his hands and feet. His feet were using 8 trigram perplexing steps, and his hands were looking for opportunities to directly hit the opponent's vital points. It was very ferocious. Li Fan felt that his snake strike technique should imitate this method of 8 trigram palm. The snake strike technique had always been used to defend and counterattack. Moreover, the strength of the point was greater than the surface. His hand's penetrating power was definitely higher than palm techniques or fist techniques. Then could he use the snake strike technique to break the defense of minor phaseless magic? Li Fan fell into deep thought, but at this moment, another loud thunder woke up Liao Wushuang, who was in Li Fan's embrace. She trembled slightly, and Li Fan couldn't help but feel pity for her. "Teacher Liao, you're awake?" Liao Wushuang seemed to be a little shy, and her voice was as soft as a mosquito. If not for Li Fan's sharp hearing, he wouldn't have been able to hear her clearly. I want to go to the toilet." "Then go." Li Fan felt it was strange. Isn't it just going to the toilet? What's there to be shy about? Humans have 3 urgent needs. Who doesn't want to go to the toilet? You accompany me." Liao Wushuang lowered her head and said with some embarrassment, "I know. You're a patient. But if I go alone, I really don't dare to go." It's okay. Teacher Liao, I have a urinal here. You can use it." "Go to hell. I'm in a hurry." Liao Wushuang gently rubbed her legs. It seemed like she was really in a hurry. "Okay then. Li Fan can't let Liao Wushuang pee on the bed, then I'll accompany you. Thank you for your hard work." Liao Wushuang was very shy. She actually had to let her student accompany her to the toilet. Li Fan's ribs haven't healed yet. He carefully got out of bed, put on his slippers, put on his hospital gown, and went out of the ward with Liao Wushuang. This hospital is quite strange. Although it's an intensive care unit, there is no indoor toilet. The only toilet in the stairwell is on the south side of the corridor. Li Fan accompanied Liao Wushuang. At this time, there was a flash of lightning outside. The originally dark corridor was illuminated by a white light, which illuminated Liao Wushuang's pale face. This atmosphere is a bit strange. Even Li Fan couldn't help but curse in his heart. Liao Wushuang, such a big girl, was holding Li Fan's arm. She walked very slowly as if she was afraid. Chapter 266. After hearing the thunder, Liao Wushuang was scared and hid in Li Fan's arms, which made Li Fan hold back his laughter. No matter how strong she looks, she is still a little girl in her heart. Li Fan remembered what Liao Wushuang said before and didn't expect it to be true. Liao Wushuang followed Li Fan closely and almost stuck to him. Finally, she wanted to pull Li Fan into the single room. Li Fan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Teacher Liao, we can't go to the toilet together, right? Are you willing to show me your butt?" Go to hell." Liao Wushuang also realized this problem. She was a little scared just now and forgot about it. But why is the toilet so dark? What kind of hospital is this? Why is the light so dim? "I'll go in, don't go, got it." Li Fan wanted to laugh, but he held it back. Liao Wushuang walked into the single room and looked back 3 times. After she went in and locked the door, she couldn't help but ask, "Li Fan, are you still there?" "Sit. You really didn't leave?" "I didn't leave." Li Fan was about to collapse. "It's just thunder. Is there a need to be scared like this?" "Then wait for me. I can't pee." Maybe because of fear, Liao Wushuang didn't have the urge to pee. "Okay, I'll wait for you." "Don't go." "I won't go, don't worry." Li Fan felt that Liao Wushuang was like a little girl, especially cute. Just when Li Fan was about to take the opportunity to exercise his power, the door of the single room next to the toilet was suddenly pushed open. At that moment, Li Fan thought that the other party was just a person going to the toilet. But immediately he didn't think so, because from the crack of the door, a black barrel was pointed at him. At that moment, all the blood in Li Fan's body seemed to have frozen, giving him a terrifying feeling of chills all over his body. Puff, puff, puff. The opponent fired 3 shots in a row. Because of the silencer, the gunshots were very muffled. Li Fan, on the other hand, had already subconsciously moved away before the man pulled the trigger. He lowered his body and rolled to the side, dodging the 3 bullets. Sparks flew from the back wall, and the tiles on it slid down. A man in a black windbreaker pushed open the door of the single room and walked out. The gun in his hand was once again aimed at Li Fan. This time, the one who came was not some embroidered uniform guard, but a real assassin. Li Fan understood. Without any hesitation, he stretched out his hand and snapped his fingers. The spirit monkey had escaped. The man's vision blurred, and he lost sight of Li Fan. But he was a professional killer, and he seemed to know how to listen to the wind. He immediately turned around and aimed his gun at Li Fan, who was already behind him. Li Fan had already lifted his leg and kicked him in the arm. Although the assassin had a strong body, his gun was still kicked away. He pulled out another gun with his left hand, aimed at Li Fan, and pulled the trigger. Fieft. Another 3 shots were fired. Li Fan used the agile monkey steps and dodged a few bullets. Li Fan's heart was beating very fast. His stagnant blood seemed to have erupted at this moment. It was boiling and circulating rapidly in his body. This was the first time he had dodged bullets. The gunman opposite him was obviously an experienced killer. He was vicious and merciless, and there was no hesitation in every shot. Every shot was for Li Fan's life. If it wasn't for Li Fan's agile and bold movements, he would have become a dead soul under the gunman's gun. Li Fan didn't manage to force the guy to retreat. The other party stretched out his hand and caught the falling gun with his right hand. He aimed both guns at Li Fan, and even predicted a few positions and aimed at Li Fan. Li Fan had already used his true chi to simulate his ribs so that he wouldn't have difficulty moving. But at this moment, he was shrouded by a cold aura, and the hair on his body was shivering. Even if he dodged, he would probably be hit by the bullets. The assassin was too terrifying. He even predicted where he would land and sealed all his movements in advance. With a slower vision than a normal person, Li Fan also had more ways to judge. He immediately bounced off the ground, and his whole body floated up and stuck to the ceiling. Pew. A few bullets hit the surroundings, and Li Fan was lucky enough to escape. Li Fan, are you still there? Liao Wushuang's shout came from the single room. When the assassin heard this, he immediately turned the muzzle and aimed at the single room. Li Fan turned pale with fright. This single room's door couldn't block bullets. If it was hit, what would happen? Li Fan didn't hesitate and immediately entered the toad strike mode. Devour! Heavens! Toad! With a wave of Li Fan's hand, the 2 pistols of the assassin immediately tilted to the side, and the assassin's body also turned around. At the same time, he fell from the air and sent out a true Bear King seal. A flash of lightning lit up, and the white light shone into the bathroom, as if it was illuminating the figure of a giant bear. When Li Fan's palm landed on the assassin's body, the assassin was like a kite with a broken string. His body smashed into the glass behind him and fell out. Li Fan immediately followed, but when he looked out of the window, he couldn't find any trace of the assassin. Damn it, he got away. Li Fan was depressed. He was actually plotted against so badly. Li Fan? Li Fan? Liao Wushuang shouted a few more times, and her voice seemed to be trembling. Li Fan quickly answered, I'm here. You, where did you go just now? Liao Wushuang asked with some lingering fear. I've been here. Then why didn't you answer me? There was thunder just now, so I didn't hear you. Don't tell Liao Wushuang about this matter. However, who is the assassin who came to assassinate me? I have offended too many forces, and I really can't think of any force that would come to deal with me. But no matter which force it is, Li Fan must be careful, lest he encounters such a dangerous thing again. That assassin has been waiting for me in the bathroom for a whole day. If I don't appear, he may continue to wait. This kind of enemy is the most terrible. Finally, the sound of running water came to his ears. Li Fan knew that Liao Wushuang finally peed. When she came out, her face was still red, and she was a bit embarrassed to speak. Li Fan also pretended to be busy and didn't tease this beautiful teacher. The 2 of them returned to the ward. When the rain stopped, Liao Wushuang went home. Sorry. I failed. That assassin hid in a sewer and knelt down in front of a figure. What a waste. That figure coldly said, mission failure, you know what the punishment is. Yes. The black-clothed man's eyes were firm. Without any hesitation, he took out a gun, aimed it at his temple, and pulled the trigger. The bullet went through his head, ending his life. Li Fan. Consider yourself lucky. But I want to see how long you can live. Chapter 267. For the next few days, no assassins came to harass him. Li Fan also had a rare few days of peace. However, on Friday, an annoying person came to the hospital. Chang Chuanxi stood beside Li Fan and placed the papers in front of him. These are the papers for today's exam. I will be monitoring you throughout the exam. Chang Chuanxi reminded Li Fan, if you dare to cheat, I will kick you out of the school. With such a good teacher like Teacher Chang, how could I bear to leave the school? Li Fan threw a flirtatious look at Chang Chuanxi, which almost made Chang Chuanxi faint. This damned Li Fan. Couldn't he be like a cockroach, trampled to death and kicked out of the school? But he couldn't touch him nor scold him. This kind of student was really evil. Having such a student in the school was the school's biggest misfortune. Chang Chuanxi was the staunchest supporter of the principal's high-pressure policy. He was also a perfectionist. He felt that all dregs should not exist in a sacred place like the school. Let these dregs die and get out of his school. Li Fan, don't be so cheeky with me. Chang Chuanxi scolded. I have been teaching for decades and I have seen too many troublemakers like you. Do you think I am here to accompany you for the exam? I am here to supervise you. I don't believe that a lousy student like you would have such good results. Teacher Chang, even if you are a teacher, please watch your language. Li Fan frowned slightly. What do you mean by lousy student? As a teacher, can you casually comment on your own student? Does that mean I can also call you a lousy teacher in return? The school actually assigned a lousy teacher to supervise me. How unlucky. Li Fan, don't push your luck. Chang Chuanxi had witnessed Li Fan's sharp tongue. He knew that arguing with people like Li Fan would not give him any advantage. If he endured this, one day he would kick a lousy student like Li Fan out of his class and his school. Here are 4 sets of papers. Language and mathematics in the morning, English comprehensive arts in the afternoon. Letting you rest at noon is the school's special care for you in consideration of your body. The school has already been extremely benevolent to you. Don't go too far. Then I really have to thank the school for coming up with such a plan to chase us students away. Li Fan smiled coldly, which made Chang Chuanxi very uncomfortable. A student like Li Fan was hard to deal with, really hard to deal with. I don't want to argue with you. It's all for your own good. If you don't want to listen, then forget it. One day, you will suffer because of this. Thank you for your concern, Teacher Chang, but I'm already an adult with a relatively complete outlook on life and the world. Li Fan grinned. I know who treats me well and who treats me badly. It's time to start the exam. Please maintain silence in the examination hall. Chang Chuanxi was flustered and exasperated. She tore open the sealed craft paper, took out the test paper inside, and placed it on the folding table above Li Fan's bed. Li Fan took a look. The questions were very difficult. However, Lin Yuan had already tutored him, so these questions were not difficult for him. Lin Yuan was a smart girl. Although these questions were difficult, they did not escape her prediction range. He didn't know how her brain worked, but the range of questions for every exam was always within her prediction range. Li Fan felt that this lass might be the reincarnation of a vixen. She was too scheming. Fortunately, she did not scheme against him. Otherwise, with his intelligence, he would really be betrayed by her and have to count the money for her. Li Fan answered the questions in order. Seeing Li Fan's correct rate, Chang Chuanxi frowned deeply. After teaching for so many years, this was the first time he was troubled by a student's results. What was wrong with this student? He was clearly a bad student in the past. But recently, he heard that Lin Yuan had been tutoring him, even skipping classes to tutor him. Chang Chuanxi had specially looked for Lin Yuan's class teacher, but the class teacher of the experimental class was also very powerful. He only said that Lin Yuting could do whatever she wanted to do, and he had no control over it. The teachers of the other classes also had no control over it. Bastard! How could a teacher be like this? Even if he was the top student in the grade, he should not be so conniving. But he heard that Lin Yuachsen had already obtained the recommendation to enter Tsinghua University. It was really difficult for a sophomore to obtain the recommendation. It could not be helped. Lin Yuan was a girl who had always been the champion of the National Mathematics Olympiad since junior high. She had never lost a match. Sigh, for such an outstanding student, skipping classes was indeed not a big deal. But he still could not tolerate such a good student selflessly tutoring a bad student. Chang Chuanxi gave a call to Lin Yuachsen's mother. In the end, her mother was very supportive of Lin Yuachsen's actions. She even encouraged her daughter, saying that her daughter was responsible and compassionate and was worthy of praise. Chang Chuanxi was completely convinced. He really could not control this Lin Yu. In the end, not only that, the school's new teacher, Teacher Liao, even went to tutor Li Fan in English. He did not understand. What kind of magic did Li Fan, a moronic and bad student, have that made him get two such outstanding women to tutor him? Is his family rich? This kid's family is poor, and it was said that the house he lives in is leaky. Is this guy handsome? He's just an ordinary person. Handsome students are a dime a dozen. Moreover, I'm not bad looking. Chang Chuanxi felt that his brain might not be able to handle it. He came to supervise today because he wanted to see what was different about this Li Fan. Could it be that he has two dicks? Li Fan was answering the questions when he felt that Chang Chuanxi's eyes were almost glued to his body. This Chang Chuanxi, he usually looks at me through the door slit. I am afraid that he is thinking of ways to get rid of me now. Li Fan could not be bothered with this guy and continued to answer. In the end, when it came to the essay, he hesitated for a moment. The essay's topic was about the outstanding teachers around me. Teacher Chang, I have a question. Li Fan immediately raised his hand. Chang Chuanxi frowned. What is this guy trying to do now? Teacher Chang, this essay is seriously out of touch with reality. I don't know how to write it. Li Fan answered with conviction. Chang Chuanxi looked at the essay's topic, and his nose almost became crooked from anger. If you don't know how to write, then leave it blank. Oh, then I will write a novel. After all, it is 60 marks. AI, there is no other way. In number 2 high, the basic skill to learn is to lie with one's eyes wide open. Chang Chuanxi wanted to vomit blood. This Li Fan is really too infuriating. Next time when he is hospitalized, I will not come. If I come to supervise, the invigilator fee is not even enough to buy a quick effect heart reliever pill. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.